was won by the Penguins and playoff MVP Mario Lemieux. The Blackhawks once again have the cup on their mind. They are led by trophy candidate Norris-style Chris Chelios, one of the toughest, roughest players in the game. And Jeremy Roenick, maybe an MVP, a big reason why they are #1 in the Norris division. Coming off back-to-back shutouts, the Penguins are loaded with talent, including wonder kid Jaromir Jagr and their high-scoring leading goal scorer Kevin Stevens. He's 4th in the National Hockey League with 42 goals. The Penguins maintaining the best record in the NHL, even in the absence of Mario Lemieux. And welcome to Pittsburgh, this special edition of ESPN's National Hockey Night, a rematch of the Stanley Cup Finals from last year, the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Chicago Blackhawks. Take a look at the Norris division. It has been a battle there most of the season. Chicago now on top and threatening to pull away from the rest of the pack. In the Patrick division, it's not been much of a battle at all. It's Pittsburgh and everybody else. They may set a record this season for points between themselves and the teams that will finish behind them. Hello, everybody. Gary Thorne, delighted to have you with us in Pittsburgh. This should be a great hockey game. Chicago has something to prove. They'll try and do it today without Mario Lemieux on the ice for Pittsburgh. Lemieux did skate yesterday for the first time since he started radiation treatment. He got back on the ice for about an hour, warmed up. He's got a couple more weeks of radiation treatments to go, and then they'll know something about his condition. Without him, Pittsburgh still has done well. They've gone 8-5-1, and Jim Schoenfeld, one of the reasons, Kevin Stevens.
Stevens hardly missed a beat in the absence of Lemieux. Lemieux, Stevens center, gets him the puck, the best passer in the league. He's out of the lineup. In the 14 games Lemieux has been sidelined, Stevens has scored 12 goals.
So probably one of the guys going to be looking for him today is named Chris Chelios, one of the toughest in the league.
Well, Chelios is probably the leading candidate for the Norris Trophy, and he loves to take a bite.
And he does it as well as anyone in the National Hockey League right now. The other side of the coin contrasts the offensive skills of Jeremy Roenick.
Roenick skates. He can turn on a dime. He has great desire. He drives to the net as well as anybody in the game today. And he is the big producer for the Chicago Blackhawks.
Amazingly, what's happened for Pittsburgh, without Mario Lemieux, they've been able to pull their defense together. They're playing great defense. The last 10 games, 1.98 goals against. So we'll see what happens today. The Blackhawks and the Penguins coming up. Tom, back to you.
All right, Gary and Jim, thanks a lot. Nice to see you can make the trip down from Buffalo in time for the afternoon tilt in Pittsburgh this afternoon. Welcome to the Penguin fans. No blackout today. You're seeing your home team live here on ESPN this afternoon. A reminder, after our hockey game at 5 Eastern time, live coverage of the Foot Locker Road Race of the Month. Then at 5:30 Eastern time, it'll be live from Daytona, a special edition of Speed Week on the eve of the Daytona 500. Then at 6, it's the Seniors Golf Challenge from Florida. 7:30 p.m., a half-hour edition of Sports Center at 8 o'clock Eastern time. Coverage of the NASCAR Goodies 300 from Daytona. 11 p.m. Eastern time, an hour-long edition of Sports Center at midnight. College Hoops, 16th-ranked Runnin' Utes of Utah taking on the Rainbow Warriors of Hawaii in Honolulu. And welcome back to our National Hockey Night matinee studios. Tom Mees along with Bill Clement and Al Morganti. And the Chicago Blackhawks come in, Al, leading the Norris division. And Darryl Sutter had to take over for a very successful coach, and Mike Keenan, who was jettisoned earlier in the year.
He's gone.
Yeah.
Sutter takes over. People wonder, boy, can Chicago keep it up? Because, you know, Keenan was looked at as one of the great coaches in the NHL. Well, and then he had a tough start beyond that. If you remember, go back to the early season, a tie and a loss against Tampa Bay, an expansion team. But he kept it together. And most important, people felt after Keenan left, it was like the substitute teacher comes in. They're going to lose it. Well, they continued to work just as hard. That's the key under Sutter. They haven't lost the work ethic, and their defense is the best in the NHL.
You know what I like about Chicago? You can match their talent level in the Norris division. Detroit can do that. Minnesota can match their hitting and their passion, but nobody has the passion, the hitting, and the talent combined. That's what Chicago has that nobody in the Norris has.
The work ethic, not surprising when a Sutter is the head coach behind the bench for the Chicago Blackhawks. Well, the man that has been picking up the slack for the Penguins since Mario Lemieux went out of the lineup, one Kevin Stevens. And Bill Clement and his trusty telestrator will take a closer look at Stevens and the Penguins. The National Hockey Night coverage comes back in a moment.
Was up against Syracuse. Oklahoma State beats the Nebraska Cornhuskers, and Pacific battles Nevada.
They don't ask that you have the size. They don't ask that you have the strength. They don't ask that you have the experience. All they ask is that you have the heart.
While Mario Lemieux continues his radiation therapy for Hodgkin's disease, the Pittsburgh Penguins, a lot of people might think, Bill, would be in a lot of trouble, but this is a team with extraordinary depth.
Well, depth is misunderstood. A lot of people think it's just having enough players to put on the ice. It's not that. It's the core players, the nucleus players, the skill position guys. Pittsburgh has more real depth than anybody, led by Kevin Stevens. He is the complete package. He absolutely has it all, especially coming from the left side. He's got size so he can play here in the trenches. And if it gets a little too tough in the trenches, he's got a couple other things he can rely on. First of all, smarts. On this play, he wants to get the puck from here to Ronnie Francis. There's a net in the way, no problem. Little pool bank off the board, so he's got smarts to go with it. And for a big guy, 220, he's got agility. In this play, Ludwig is under him, no problem. Watch this, he gets airborne, goes over him. The last thing, hands. Even though he is airborne, he's able to deposit the puck. I forgot a couple of things. He has toughness and skating ability. What's left? Drop the puck.
And to think that there were those who said he was going to sign with the Bruins not too long ago. The Penguins matched the offer sheet, gave him the big money. May have been the best investment they ever made in Pittsburgh. Kevin Stevens still in the Steel City. A big day and night of action on the NHL docket. Let's take a look at it. One other afternoon game, the Flyers at New Jersey in a big Patrick Division battle, and the remainder of the games this evening.
This special presentation of ESPN Hockey Night is brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers. With that fresh, pure, natural taste, nothing beats a Bud. By Volkswagen, maker of the new V6 Passat Touring Sedan. And by Gillette Sensor and the new Gillette Series. Gillette, the best a man can get.
National Hockey Night's matinee edition continues. Let's take a look at the Patrick Division standings. Most of you are going to see the Penguins up next, but look down there in 4th, 5th, 6th spot. Look at the race between New Jersey, the Islanders, and Philadelphia. The Devils facing off against the Flyers at this moment in the Meadowlands in the first of a home-and-home. And Al Morganti, the Flyers, may be able to make their last stand this week.
Make a last stand. Eric Lindros, obviously important. Just as important, Tommy Soderstrom. Tommy Soderstrom, the goaltender coming off a shutout. He's going to have a big impact the rest of the season.
All right, we shall see. We'll be filling you in with highlights of that game throughout the afternoon. But now it's time to take you out to our primary telecast, the Civic Arena in Pittsburgh. It's the Penguins and the Blackhawks. Here's Gary Thorne. Gary?
Tom, thank you very much. As you take a look at the goaltenders for this game here at the Igloo, Tom Barrasso standing in net, Ed Belfour at the other end. Belfour having an outstanding season, comes in 3-1 lifetime against the Pittsburgh Penguins, and look at the big numbers he's got, including 5 shutouts, leading the NHL there. On the other side, Tom Barrasso, 4 shutouts. Pittsburgh has not given up a goal in their last 2 games. 2 back-to-back shutouts, first time in their history. 4-0 against Boston, 3-0 against the New York Rangers. And we are ready to go, and they've got the muscle out on the ice to start this game. Shel Samuelson will pick it up and send it in. The Blackhawks play that tight-checking, hard-hitting brand of hockey. Try and hold down a Pittsburgh team that likes to try and get a flow going. Both these teams right now, Jim Schoenfeld, are playing some great defense.
It's very important. You'll find as the season wears on, the good teams are going to concentrate more and more on defense because sound defensive hockey wins playoff games. And from this point on, everyone is gearing up for that first round of the playoffs.
Winningest coach in hockey history, Scotty Bowman, behind the bench of the Stanley Cup champion Pittsburgh Penguins. For Chicago, Steve Smith, Chris Chelios on defense. They've got Sutter, centering Brian Noonan and Stefan Matteau in their first line. There's Chelios who drops it back. The most penalized team in the National Hockey League are the Chicago Blackhawks. Their specialty teams get a lot of work, both ends of the ice. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, likes to keep the penalties down. They like to keep skating. Mike Stapleton's got it to Troy Loney. Loney will move in. Shot was deflected. Belfour at the side of the net couldn't hang on to it. Chelios was there to wrap it around the boards. Jay Caulfield, rough and tough Jay Caulfield on this line. Loney and Stapleton, the other 2. This is a checking line. Shot by Caulfield is deflected into the corner. Both first shifts are out of gas. Chelios, Jaromir Jagr had moved in on him. Taken by Jagr. Jagr lost it. Shot deflected wide by Belfour. Jagr had dropped it back. They got the chance. Jagr on the tip in front. Rick Tocchet had the other one. Centering pass in front, knocked away from Needham. And the Blackhawks play it out. Close call. Noonan clears.
The Penguins' speed evident in the early stages of this game as the Penguins came back checking, stripped the Chicago defenseman of the puck, and had a good scoring chance by Rick Tocchet.
Pittsburgh with it at center ice. Sean McEachran, third leading rookie scorer, wearing number 15 for Pittsburgh. Keep an eye on him. He's a great star of the future. Tocchet centered. Larry Murphy scores!
Penguins beating the Hawks to the puck in the Chicago zone. Back to the point, and Murphy wastes no time putting this one over top. A Chicago goaltender, Ed Belfour, gets a piece of it in the glove, but Murphy gives the Penguins an early lead. And he has quietly and consistently produced for 13 years from the blue line, Gary. And he joins an elite company with only Bobby Orr, Paul Coffey, Dennis Potvin, Ray Bork, and Doug Wilson to have scored more than 800 points.
He is the 4th leading defensive scorer in the National Hockey League, and Larry Murphy has just given the Pittsburgh Penguins a 1-0 lead, his 14th goal of the season. That didn't take long against Ed Belfour. Murphy shoots it in wide into the corner. Belfour out to play it off the boards. Blackhawks having trouble getting out of the zone. They've got Steve Larmer out there on this line. Taken in behind the net by Kuchera. Kuchera drops it in the center to Jeremy Roenick. Roenick leaves it. Sent up by Kravchuk. Rolls in on goal. Barrasso leaves it off for Murphy. Murphy clears it out. Kuchera picks it up. Trying to centering it back into the zone. Not going to get it there. Murphy comes back to get it and away from the play. The sticks get up. Ron Hogarth, our referee for this one. Ron Finn and Bob Hodges are the linesmen, and they know this is the kind of activity they are going to see a lot of in this game.
Chicago won the first meeting this season, 7-2. That's making amends to a degree for their loss in the playoffs, but they don't make true amends until they face the Penguins again in the finals. There's the collision along the boards, and the left coming off the boards by Gilbert. You know the Penguins are aware the Blackhawks are going to come in hungry and mean. Chicago plays a hard, grinding type of game. They want to play that type of game and grind the Penguins into the ice. The Penguins are a proud team. You don't win 2 Stanley Cups without being a proud team. They're not going to be pushed around in their own building.
Al Samuelson will pick up the penalty. The goal by Larry Murphy at 1:31 is 14th. Rick Tocchet picked up the assist on the goal. Al Samuelson goes out for interference at 2:10, and so we will see the Chicago Blackhawks down early here, 1-0, get the power play. You see Chicago on the power play not good at all, which Jimmy and I were talking about before the game, kind of amazing. They are 20th in the National Hockey League when it comes to power play chances, and they go against the Pittsburgh team that is 11th in killing off penalties this season. Shot on, save made at the point by Marchment. Marchment got a good hard shot. It'll be cleared out of the zone. Pittsburgh will try and kill off the first power play chance of this game. Minute 46 in the power play. Smith winding up. Steve Smith works one of the points in this power play unit. Jeremy Roenick trying to get it in. Knocked down by Joey Mullen. Mullen couldn't get it out of the zone, though. Tipped along the boards. Easy out. Jim Pack. At the red line, Francis. Ron Francis, blue line shot. Save made. Belfour. Joey Mullen deflected wide. Mullen shot that right into Steve Smith. Short-handed effort for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And at 16 left on this power play. Chicago would like to get Roenick, of course, to the puck. Christian Ruutu in the corner. Chris Chelios, who has that point shot. Francis moving over to get it. Knocked away by Michel Goulet. Near side to Chelios. His shot deflected just wide. Christian Ruutu held in the zone. Chicago's Brian Noonan couldn't get it. Mullen moves over. Chelios had it. Lost it. Mullen clears. 50 seconds remaining on the power play opportunity. Chicago already down a goal. Save made again from the point shot. Taken by Stephane Matteau. Not much of a chance when you take the blue line.
Not good shot selection by the Hawks with the man advantage. You want to make sure you're shooting the puck with a crowd in front of the goaltender. Barrasso could see that shot easily, and the puck was cleared by the Penguin defenseman.
Power play still underway. Tom Barrasso decides to cover as he had Stephane Matteau moving in. Tom Barrasso is just having another great season this year. He is second in wins with 26. His high is 27 in his career. He comes into this game with the attitude he's always had. I don't really care about goals against and save percentage. Tell me how many W's I've got.
And he has 2 big W's in back-to-back Stanley Cups, and that sets him apart from Belfour, who's a little better in average, a little better in save percentage, one more shutout, but I'm sure he'd trade it all for a ring this season.
Near side, Stanton moving along the boards with Greg Gilbert of the Chicago Blackhawks. Blackhawks still on the power play, but lost it. Short-handed effort, Bob Airy. Airy coming as Brown in front of him. Airy knocked out of the play hard by Dirk Graham. but they are holding the puck in the Chicago zone, and the Pittsburgh penalties down to the final 10 seconds. So Chicago may get one more rush here in this power play chance. Good penalty killing job has been done by the Pittsburgh Penguins. Gilbert along the boards, tried to knock it deep, could not. Now held in. Power play is over. Even strength save made. Tom Barrasso down in a hurry on Dave Christian. And that's going to be an offside call. They've killed off the penalty with the Penguins leading 1-0.
Dave Christian almost catches Tom Barrasso leaning too far the wrong way. Barrasso goes down a little early, and he's almost playing the pass across to Graham, but he gets the blocker to prevent the Blackhawks from evening the score at once.
15:37 left to go here in the first period. 1-0. Smith in behind the net. We're back to even strength here. Francis up on the forecheck, comes to Murphy. Murphy and Alf Samuelson, the defensive pairing on this group. Centering pass just missed at center ice. Mullen was cutting in. And boy, Chicago, they love to line you up. If you're open, you're going to get nailed. Jocelyn Lemieux brings it to the corner. Centering pass, nobody there. Point shot deflected in front. Save made by Barrasso. Tom Barrasso, a couple of big saves early on in this game as Steve Smith wound up. Belfour plays it off to Chelios. He could not pick it up. Kevin Stevens, number 25 of Pittsburgh, up in the forecheck that time. Lots of action going on away from the puck here. Both teams following through on checks. Mullen centered. Stevens shot. Belfour makes the save. Stevens on the off shooting side that time didn't get a lot on it. Both teams change it up on the fly, and we got a penalty behind the play. Hogarth watching as the sticks are up. Ron Francis in front of the bench doing the pushing. We'll get the penalty when we come back. First, we'll check in with Tom.
All right, Gary, at the Meadowlands in New Jersey, Devils on a power play. Bernie Nichols fakes the shot. Nice pass to Bruce Driver, who tees it up and hits the short side high on Tommy Soderstrom. Jersey off and running, 1-0, 3:54 into the game, Gary.
Flyers really need to get 2 wins against the Devils this weekend. They play them again tomorrow afternoon if they're going to get back into the race. Big game for them. This all took place along the bench while the teams were changing up.
The only player to go to the penalty box so far has been Jeremy Roenick. And I'm not sure of the call. I believe it was interference as he tried to prevent the Penguin from getting to his bench to make a change. And that's when all the pushing ensued.
Holding call on Roenick at 5:14. You could have taken a choice on that one, though. You had a high stick, a roughing, about anything you wanted. Hogarth knew he had to get him out of there, though. So the Pittsburgh Penguins will get the power play opportunity here. Pittsburgh this season, as they were last year, they are tough on the power play. Number 1 in the league overall, 5th best at home. Power play actually a little better on the road for them. They are led on their power play unit right now by Kevin Stevens, who has 18 power play goals, and Rick Tocchet, who's got 16. Ron Francis brings it in, drops it in the middle. Just overskated by Tocchet. Murphy holds it in. Stevens scores! 2-0 Pittsburgh.
Chicago's Ed Belfour not sharp in the early going of this game today, and he gets caught there trying to move across. As Stevens is going to have a give and go here with Tocchet. Murphy gets the puck off of Tocchet's stick. Here comes Stevens, and Belfour has the legs wide open. He looks to me, Gary, to be a little bit off balance. He's back in the net, does not seem real confident, and he left the short side wide open for Stevens to snap that puck behind him.
Not moving very well in net, but moving on the ice, Kevin Stevens. 43rd goal of the year, 5:40 on the power play. Murphy and Tocchet, and Belfour's leaving the game. Ed Belfour is going to be pulled here with 14:20 left to go. The 5:40 mark of the first period, having given up the 2 goals on 5 Pittsburgh shots.
This is a good move by Daryl Sutter. Belfour would come into this game knowing a lot of people think the reason the Hawks didn't do as well against the Penguins last year as many people thought they would was because of his goaltending. He was brilliant up until the finals. He may have put too much pressure on himself coming in here to play the Penguins today. He does not look like the Belfour we've seen this season. A good move, get him out of there, let him settle down. Whether he'll be back in the game remains to be seen. That's more a Mike Keenan move than a Daryl Sutter. But Waite will take over for the Blackhawks from this point on.
Jimmy Waite. Now this Chicago team's got to play Detroit tomorrow night, so that'll affect the decisions on whether or not they bring Belfour back. Jimmy Waite 5-6-1 this season, 3-3-1 on the road. He is 0-1-1 lifetime in his career against Pittsburgh as the Pens have taken a quick 2-0 lead here in this first period. And they're putting it to Chicago right now. Puck cleared off in the corner. Murphy gets it up to the point, jammed out of the zone. Covering on defense is Brown. And Keith Brown will send it in wide to Tom Barrasso. Larry Murphy over to get it. Comes through center ice. This is generally where we may see Chicago try and throw even more body at Pittsburgh. Try and get things going. And believe me, they came in here to this game. It meant something to them. Their coach had a long discussion with them yesterday and again this morning about needing to make a point against the Pittsburgh Penguins. But right now, it's the other way around.
Well, so far, the Penguins are the team that are throwing their body around more frequently than the Hawks. They seem to be a fired-up team. Scotty Bowman knows the importance of this game. He knows there's a chance these two teams could meet in the final, and he wants his team to set the precedent. We're not a team that can be physically intimidated. We're not a team that will not hit back. You hit us, we're going to come at you. As a matter of fact, we're going to initiate aggressive play, and that is what the Penguins have done early in this game.
It's a great hockey team. I mean, as much as is said about them and how good they are, they're number one in the National Hockey League. They simply are that good. Look at this in the first period. An amazing number to outscore your opposition by that much, and they do it even better here at home, where this season they are 21-4-3. They've already won as many games at home this year as they did all last year. Christian Ruutu got dumped wide side corner along with Tocchet. Jaromir Jagr comes back to get it. Jagr got it out. Tocchet winds up and takes a hard shot on Waite. That'll leave it behind the net for Steve Smith. Get it around the boards. Jagr there to intercept. Jagr along the line. He can play this game. Deflected wide. Sean McEachran set up by Jaromir Jagr, who tries again to hold it in. Jagr intercepts at center ice. It sits for Noonan. Ryan Noonan will bring it to the blue line. Taken out of the play by Paul Stanton. That freed the puck up. Back to Stanton. Stanton lined up. He got run right into the official Ron Hogarth that time. Jagr trying to get it out of the zone twice, does. Then Jagr got dumped behind the play. Chris Chelios on the tip in. It'll be held on to by Tom Barrasso. 2-0 Pens, Tom.
All right, and it's 2-0 Devils in New Jersey, Gary. Bernie Nichols, they're counting on Nichols to do a lot of scoring down the stretch for him. A screen goaltender, Tommy Soderstrom, never saw that one as he dents the twine. 2-0 New Jersey about midway through the first, Gary.
Teams trying to pick up points in the Patrick Division. Pittsburgh on top here today, while the New Jersey Devils and the New York Islanders are tied with 54 each for fourth place in the division in that final playoff spot right now. Ruutu of the Chicago Blackhawks will move in to take the face-off, acquired from Winnipeg, where he had last been. Christian Ruutu against Ron Francis. Ruutu got it in behind the net, couldn't control it. Centering past Graham. Pack is there to pick it up. Dirk Graham got it out in front. Jim Pack had it. Francis trying to break 2-on-1 with Stevens. Francis, Stevens, saved by Waite. A 2-on-1 and a great goaltending save. Ruutu tries to bust it the other way with Dirk Graham. Played off the glass by Barrasso. Right now, Pittsburgh's dominating this game. Chicago needs this next goal. Tipped in. Barrasso the save. Knocked away as he had Gilbert out in front of the net. Comes to center. Pens looking to break every chance they have here against Chicago. They're trying to run it up ice. Waite left it in behind. 12 minutes left to go here in the period. Shel Samuelson was waiting for it. Took a hop off the boards, though, to Jocelyn Lemieux. Both teams will change it up on the fly. Sent into the zone. Stevens behind the play. Put a pretty good wrap that time on Brian Marchment. Not an easy man to catch up to. Shel Samuelson of the Pens battling in the corner. Samuelson holding his man off. Francis trying to free it up. Samuelson took a whack at it. Couldn't get it by Jocelyn Lemieux. And it's cleared out by the Pens. Some tired bodies after this first period, the way these two teams go at it. Here comes Jeremy Roenick. Goes to the net. Shot. Roenick. Save made on the rebound by Tom Barrasso. And Lemieux gets cleared out in front by Shel Samuelson. 2-0 Pens.
2-on-1 by the Penguins. Ron Francis coming in with Kevin Stevens. Takes the shot. A little aerial pass. And Waite just gets over in time to keep the score at 2-0 for the Penguins.
Pittsburgh challenging two goaltenders. Matching minors, Shel Samuelson and Jocelyn Lemieux.
Gary,
He's going to get 2 for roughing.
Excuse me, Gary, the Penguins are brilliant tonight on the counter. They are just countering immediately. The minute there's a turnover, they're breaking out 3-on-2s, 2-on-1s, and the Blackhawks have been caught backing up the entire first period.
We'll skate 4-on-4 now with Sean McEachran taking the face-off against Jeremy Roenick. Pittsburgh has now scored the first goal of a game in 41 of their 56 games this season. They just jump on.
The thing that makes that difficult is when the Penguins get the lead, the opponent has to open up. This is not a team you want to have to open up against.
And that's exactly the way Pittsburgh wants to play, as you say, Jimmy. The more you open it up, more it is to their favor. Roenick won it. Shot wide of Barrasso by Steve Smith at the point. Chelios trying to hold it in along the boards. McEachran had it. Samuelson hit by Chelios down low. The shot deflected wide. Chicago's Dave Christian. And right away, McEachran on the near side will take it back in. Chicago gets back on defense. One of the better chances Chicago's had in this period. Samuelson moves up, forces the play back. Jeremy Roenick, 4-on-4 situation here. 10:54 to go in the first period, and the Pittsburgh Penguins leading it by a score of 2-0. Pens out shooting, Blackhawks out shooting right now. The Pens 9-7. Murphy, who's got one of the goals. He had the first one. Stevens has the other. Drops it back to Jágr. Jaromir Jágr, only a couple of goals in his last 14 games, but he has had the assists. White knocked it down as it went behind him on Jim Pack's point shot. The jam in the corners. Jágr got nailed. No call. Fans wanted it. 2-on-1. Chicago just wide of the net. Rebound tipped wide by Smith. Chicago's scoring chance with Sutter and Smith. Sutter in front of the net waiting for it. Moving in. Jim Pack. Pack takes it away for the Pens. You're seeing the way Pittsburgh wins their games. They get the offense going, they break out, and then when the other team tries to get an opportunity, Tom Barrasso denies. Jimmy Waite in for Ed Belfour here in this first period. Sellout on hand here again today, the 20th sellout of the season for the Pittsburgh Penguins, who love their hockey. Ruutu tried to drop it off. He got tied up by Grant Jennings. Sent it in behind the net. Graham back to get it. Graham and Stanton collided. And Stanton went down. Francis to Stevens. Dropped over to Stanton. He's got Francis near side. Couldn't get it through. Chelios broke it up. Boy, they are creating some opportunities. Barrasso comes up to play this one. Graham on the boards tipped it to the point. Igor Kravchuk lost it. Centering pass for Stevens. Stevens just nuzzles it out of the zone. Matching minors are over. Puck ends up in the seats, and we're back to full strength.
The action from end to end and tough in the corners, and as we suspected, Chicago's Chris Chelios doing what he likes to do, and that's finish the check. But it's not a one-way street, as Chris Chelios knows. Kevin Stevens making him pay the price for putting his head down, trying to find the puck near the Chicago bench. There have been more good checks thrown in this first period than we've seen in some entire games this season, Gary.
There you see Chris Chelios, third leading scorer on this Chicago team. Norris Trophy winner in '89 as the best defenseman, and mentioned this season to maybe win that award again. Tipped into the corner, Michel Goulet. Goulet is unable to control it. At the point, Murphy couldn't get it. Kjell Samuelsson will chase it down. 9 minutes left to go here in this first period. Look how the transition game works for Pittsburgh. Score! Bob Airy! 3-0 Pens.
We talked about it early. You just mentioned it again, Gary, the transition. Quick counters by the Pittsburgh Penguins. They waste no time. Great puck movement by this line. Tip it right up here. Airy's just going to snap a wrist shot alongside. He catches weight off balance, moving. He's not square to the shooter. You got to get set here. He's still moving to his right as the shot comes, and he left far too much net open on the long side.
Bob Airy, not noted as a great goal scorer, comes up with his 8th of the season, playing at a +5 on the year and really a fourth-line player, and he has given Pittsburgh a 3-0 lead. Bob Airy at 11:03. Dave Tippett's going to pick up one of the assists on the goal.
Gary, I'm very impressed with the Penguins' speed tonight. The game we saw last night, Vancouver at Buffalo, I thought Vancouver had tremendous speed. Speed makes things happen. You catch people doing things before they want to do it. You make the quick counter, and you get outnumbered situations on the attack. The Penguins have done that textbook perfect in this first period.
This is one great hockey team you're watching. They've added an assist on that to Mike Needham. So it's Tippett and Needham on the assist. Jeremy Roenick on the faceoff had it momentarily. Alf Samuelsson picks it up. Tippett knocked it away to center. Dumped into the corner. Bob Airy giving chase. Held up by Brian Marchment. Cleared around by Waite. L4 started this game. Came out at 5:40. When he gave up the first 2 goals to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's added one now on Waite. Chicago really didn't want this to happen here today. Brown of Chicago sticks up in the corner. Jammed up by Tippett. Rod Holgar standing right there, and he'll blow the whistle for the faceoff. No penalties, though. Tom?
At the Meadowlands in New Jersey, the Devils, if you'll pardon the pun, are on fire. Here's the shot taken by Scott Stevens, and this is why they tell you to keep your stick down on or near the ice. The goal to Alexander Semak is 20th of the year. 3-0 New Jersey, Gary.
Well, a couple of big explosive first periods for Pittsburgh and the Devils. Same score here with 8:07 left to go.
To further compound Chicago's problem in this game, they are not a team that scores a lot of goals. So to be down 3-0 with 8 minutes left in the first period is not a good situation for the Hawks. They play a grinding style. They like to win the 3-2, 2-1 game. They don't like to get into shootouts.
Chicago has always done well here. They're 22, 22, and 5 here in Pittsburgh, and they have not lost in the last 4 games against Pittsburgh here during the regular season, which is the big underline, of course. Kjell Samuelsson on the touch-up on the icing. 7:54 left in the first. ESPN's National Hockey Night Special Edition at the Igloo. Maybe.
It won't be easy if Lemieux is not back, but I still think they could do it.
Only 20 years old, Jaromir Jagr, and that's the thing to remember with all those numbers. 20 years old. It has only just begun. Kind of smile when I read in the papers about they say he's inconsistent. No kidding. He's inconsistently good is what he is. Played off the boards by Chelios. Jim Pack held it in. Shot saved. Rebound. Jagr lost it. McEachran shot deflected off Chelios. Waite plays it up along the boards. Larmer trying to knock it away. The offensive players of the Blackhawks have not had a chance to get anything started. Puck was hit with a high stick. Faceoff will be out at center. Shots 10-9 in favor of the Pens.
And a combination of Penguin speed and missed Chicago defensive assignments are leaving the Penguins open in front of the Chicago goaltender. Chicago has to settle down here. It might not be a bad time to take a timeout and just settle this whole team down and start the game over.
Our Budweiser scoreboard. First period in New Jersey. You see the Devils are leading. Rangers and Islanders will be tonight. Another big matchup. Rangers won last night at home. Hartford playing at Calgary. These are all night games, of course, coming up. Ottawa, they can win at home, but not on the road. Now the sticks get up away from the play again. Rick Tocchet of Pittsburgh.
Stu Grimson of Chicago, a couple of heavyweights. I'll let Ronnie Finn stand in the middle between those two. I'll stay way up here beside you, partner.
Tocchet leads Pittsburgh in penalty minutes, 167, yet is their third leading scorer. Chicago has an incredible 7 players over 100 minutes in penalties already. Far and away more than anyone else. Dump pass into the middle by Brent Sutter, intercepted. Pittsburgh will just circle and set it up now. Jagr, he can play. Great hands to Tocchet. Tocchet shot, saved by Waite. Rebound, McEachran in front, couldn't get a stick on it. Paul Stanton held it in. Near side Jagr. There's just no break. No matter what line is up for Pittsburgh, they play it this way. Jaromir Jagr centered. McEachran shot deflected with a stick of Jimmy Waite. Waite covering up in front is Jagr looking for a rebound. There was none. Tocchet knocked down.
Relentless attack by the Penguins. They started the game at a fever pitch, and they have maintained it throughout this entire first period, peppering the Chicago goaltenders, beating the Hawks to every loose puck, winning the battles along the cords, or along the boards and in the corners, and out-bumping the Chicago Blackhawks.
Jimmy Waite in for Belfour, has given up 1 of the 3.
And yet another Penguin chance as Tocchet gets better body position on the Chicago defender and throws the puck towards the net with another Penguin waiting on the doorstep. And Jagr, is this guy fun to watch or what, Gary? He just dances with the puck in the ice. He's as exciting a player as there is in the league. And we've been privileged to see a few. We saw Boré last night, McGillney, LaFontaine. Today we've got Roenick, Jagr. The list goes on, and what great entertainment value it is.
Their checks in the mail. Face-off will be whistled as Francis will take another draw here. 6:48 remaining to go in this first period. There you see Sutter in the penalty box. So the Pittsburgh Penguins going to go back on the power play. Brent Sutter. Boy, this fire in those eyes, being down as he is right now in this game for his Blackhawks team. Second power play for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Francis along the boards with Stevens. Comes to the point, held in by Murphy. Larry Murphy, one of the goals. Stevens has picked up his 43rd. Murphy is 14th. And Bob Airy has picked up his 8th. And 1:45 left on this power play. Tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific. Don't miss the same-day coverage from Daytona International Speedway. 5-time Winston Cup champion Dale Earnhardt will race against other top Winston Cup drivers, attempting his 4th consecutive Goody 300 win. That'll be coming up right here on ESPN, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific from Daytona Beach. Francis moves it on the draw, wins it again. Mullen playing one of the points, sends it behind the net. Tocchet couldn't get it. Far side, Dirk Graham sent out of the zone. Tom Barrasso will come out to help out here. Pittsburgh has given up 16 shorthanded goals this year. That's one of the only negative numbers they have. Graham centering pass with Mullen over to get it. Mullen up to Stevens. Tocchet joins them up front. Brought into the zone by Tocchet. Sends it around the net. Wait. Chelios. Francis trying to hold it in. Sent out by Christian Ruutu. Larry Murphy waits for his teammates to get onside. Power play for Pittsburgh. 1:05 left on it. Moving it in. Tocchet had it deflected away as he tried to get it to Stevens. Francis chases it down. Jeremy Roenick, who had that shorthanded goal against Boston in Chicago's last game. They had a 6-3 win against Boston on Thursday. Roenick with a game winner shorthanded. Belfour won that game in net. Stevens going to the corner. Remember here, Pittsburgh's not given up a goal in the last 2 games. Shot wide by Pittsburgh's Jaromir Jagr. Held in. Tocchet. Murphy dumped it in the middle for Stevens. Picked up by Kravchuk and cleared.
Without doubt, the Penguins are going to miss Mario Lemieux, but I think they miss him most on the power play. He's such an integral part of getting the puck into the offensive zone, setting it up, hanging on, and finding the open man.
Pittsburgh, best power play in the league, as we said, coming in. Jagr offside as McEachran and Stevens had moved in ahead of him. 21 years old on Monday for Jaromir Jagr, who's picked up on the season now. 21 goals, 42 assists coming in. And they know it, huh?
Penguins are throwing a pretty big party. I guess that's the word we heard for Jaromir, and he deserves it. 21 years, you make it that far, you should have a good party. You mentioned early, Gary, who knows how good this young fellow's going to be. At 21 years of age, he absolutely dangles in the ice. He dazzles the fans. He's going to get better and better with each year.
Native of the former Czechoslovakia, now divided country, of course, into a couple of countries. Pittsburgh still on the power play. 6 seconds left on it. Played in the corner by Keith Brown, up, not out. Held in. McEachran again to the point. Jennings held it into Jagr. Jagr ridden to the boards hard by Brian Marchment. Power play over. Back to even strength. Marchment colliding behind the net. Jagr's got it. Marchment trying to send it out of the zone. Chicago just being penned in here this first period by Pittsburgh. Dave Christian. They dump it in. Chase to the corner. Stanton goes down. Standing over him, Brent Sutter. Came out of the box. 3-0. Pittsburgh on top. 4:20 left to go in this first period. He intercepted and brought up ice by Mike Stapleton. To Troy Loney. Loney, Stapleton, and Caulfield on a big bruising line. Wait. Getting back into net. Pittsburgh forcing the play. Troy Loney moves in. Loney. Jocelyn Lemieux. He had him right around the neck. Jim Pack will come back to get it. Chicago is as rough and tough as you can get, but as Jim said earlier, it will not intimidate a Pittsburgh team. They'll play whatever style you choose. They'll get the lead on you, and then they'll force you to play their style. Kjell Samuelsson sends it in on a penalty coming up as Caulfield is going to go to the box. Power play for the Blackhawks. Jay Caulfield will go for interference at 16-14 to give the Blackhawks the power play.
Had Jocelyn Lemieux touched this puck, there would have been just a good hit. He did not touch the puck, and that's interference.
Looks like it's also a call to try and maybe settle it down a little bit with some other hits that were going on. Chelios kicked it back in front. Turnaround shot. Barrasso the save on Jeremy Roenick. Roenick cutting through the middle. Tipped it, but Tom Barrasso covered.
The Hawks can get out of this period with a 3-goal deficit, go into the dressing room, regroup, and just pick away, pick away. They're not yet out of this game, Gary. There's the replay. Larmer, a good spin around, gets a shot, and there's Roenick, always in traffic, always goes where he has to go to score goals. He pays the price every shift he's on the ice, and he reaps great benefits because of the price he pays.
He is tied for 15th in scoring in the National Hockey League, and never ceases to amaze me about Jeremy Roenick. He's only 23 years old. Chelios drops it back. Seems like he's been around forever. Shot. That did not get in. Mullen trying to clear. Gets a little help out of the zone. Larmer will be working on this power play. Chicago's power play led by Steve Larmer's 12 power play goals. He's the only Blackhawk who's in double figures on the power play. You talk about a pickup that helped this Pittsburgh team. There he is.
He does all the tough jobs. He takes the defensive faceoffs. He kills penalties. He's against the good center on all the opposing teams. Does it without complaining. Does it with great leadership, and does it as well as anyone in the National Hockey League. And with Lemieux out of the lineup, Francis has stepped up and really taken over a leadership role in this team.
Look how they've improved their defense. See what they had 4.6 goals per game there, 3.2 since, but their defense has just mastered the art while Mario Lemieux has been out. Tippett's got it. Tippett coming into the middle with Murphy. Murphy cutting to the net. Pass comes back to Tippett. The defenseman Larry Murphy had joined him on that rush, and that will happen anytime he has the opportunity. And he seems never to get caught. Murphy doesn't when he takes the offensive chance. Tippett comes back to get it. Bob Airy has got one of the goals out on this line. They send it up. Pittsburgh short-handed here. Chicago not able to do anything with it, though, thus far. Jim Pack going into the corner. He and Brian Noonan collide. Comes up along the boards and poked out of the zone by Mike Stapleton. You got people like Stapleton and Needham and Jeff Daniels who are getting playing time because some injuries Pittsburgh's had. That's going to mount up for this team. It means these people you don't hear very much about are going to have a lot of seasoned experience if their needed playoff time comes. Chicago down to 27 seconds left on the power play. Kravchuk will bring it up. Igor Kravchuk, 5 years with the Soviet Red Army team, now playing for the Chicago Blackhawks. Held in far side by Brent Sutter. Sutter dumps it to the point. 15 left on the power play. Near side, Brown. Brown just wrapped it around. Chicago staying wholly on the perimeter here on the power play, and Pittsburgh will let them do that all night. That's where you want it, down low, but broke it up by Stapleton. Mike Stapleton moved in and deflected the pass, and the Pittsburgh penalty's over.
Good switch by the Penguins. Stapleton saw Pack leave the front of the net, move right back in to take his place and tie up the Chicago forward. Good rotation. That's excellent penalty killing. As you mentioned, they're on the perimeter for the most time, but the rotation enables a player to be aggressive. The defenseman Pack goes, and Stapleton caves down, taking his spot in front of the net, eliminates another scoring chance for the Blackhawks.
Kevin Stevens out of Boston College, 27 years old, 123 points last season, 54 goals, 69 assists. And on his way to add to that, you see the National Hockey League leaders in goals scored. Stevens has added one here with McGillney, Bure, and Solani. Stevens fourth.
That's his third consecutive year scoring 40 or more goals, and he'll be doing that for many years to come, I'm sure, Gary.
Marchment's shot was deflected wide. Batted into the corner by Greg Gilbert. Chicago holding it in even strength. Chelios deflected in front. Turnaround shot. Francis gets it. Francis trying to dump. Greg Gilbert held it in again. Chicago trying to put some heat on. They've had shots. Shots are 12-11 in favor of Pittsburgh. Barrasso's got the puck. Whistle that comes a little late with Christian Ruutu jamming up in front of the net. Sure, the officials, when they found out they had this assignment, kind of went, oh, jeez.
It isn't fun. You've got a couple of intense teams out there. No one's giving an inch. What a boost it would be for the Hawks if they could score a goal here in this last minute of the first period going into the dressing room. They've settled down a little bit. They're playing more of the Chicago style they want to play. If they can ever get one here, go in with a 2-goal deficit, regroup, would be a good game for the Hawks.
There you see the feisty captain Dirk Graham, who is having a discussion with Paul Stanton of Pittsburgh right there. And they are both going to head to the dressing room here with only 1:09 left to go. They'll pick up some penalties here. Right now, there they go. Matching minors are now put up on the board.
Most of that was a result of a late whistle. Brasso thought he had the puck smothered, but was still lying there beside his stick in the net. Hogarth saw it was still free, so he couldn't blow it down. And you had a mass of 9 players in front of goalie Tom Brasso.
Stanton and Graham at 18:51 on the matching minors. During our first intermission, we'll send you back to our studios. Tom and Al and Bill will take a look at games that are underway this afternoon. A look back at Stanley Cup highlights and Devils Rangers. We'll have that for you coming up during our first intermission. 1 minute left to go in the first period. Knocked down Roenick along the blue line. And here we go again. Alf Samuelsson. Mr. Nasty for Pittsburgh and Brian Marchment. Marchment 226 penalty minutes. And now the bench is getting into it.
Here we go. A big hit by Samuelsson seemed to hurt Roenick. He was on the ice for a couple of seconds. Marchment wasted no time coming in. And both benches are grabbing. There's Sutter, there's Samuelsson, McEachern. Referee Ron Hogarth has his hands full with this one.
Hogarth's taking the numbers. See him standing away, watching and warning. Jeremy Roenick being pulled away by Tippett while the linesmen are working on the pile on the ice.
This is always dangerous. I hate to see a mound of players with gloves off and skates on. I've seen players get their wrists cut very badly, their hands cut. This is a dangerous time. The fight's over now, guys. Separate.
Look at Scotty Bowman.
Time. Oh, he's livid. He's absolutely livid. And he deserves an awful lot of credit for the transition this Penguin team has made. It's a very difficult sell to take a high-flying offensive team and convince them that sound defensive hockey is the best way to win games. He has accomplished that with his team. They believe in Bowman, and he's done an excellent job last year and this year as their coach.
Whoever's on the bottom of that pile for Pittsburgh, he's very concerned about. Now, it was Alf Samuelsson who began this whole thing with Brian Marchment.
This is the hit coming up on Roenick. Samuelsson reaches out, gives him a shot in the head. The Chicago players will look at that as a left hook, an intentional left hook, and we're going to get even, not as a little glove in the face, but a big haymaking left hook. And down goes Roenick, and in comes Marchment, wastes no time. Samuelsson does not drop his gloves here, so he may not get a major. For sure, Marchment will. And Marchment will probably get an instigator in the game. And I'll let Hogarth sort out the rest because it's too hard to tell once they all pile in.
That's the reason why the new rule is you do not have benches on the same side of the ice, but in buildings that already have them, nothing you can do about it. Marchment leaving for Chicago. When you have these benches together on the same side, it's ripe for these kind of situations, especially when you got teams like this who played in the Stanley Cup final. You see that there's virtually nothing but that little pane of plexiglass between the two benches right there. That's it. You can see how solid that is.
And I have seen coaches climb over that too, so I don't think that'll happen tonight, but I have seen it happen.
Scotty Bowman thought about it. Our coverage of the National Hockey League and ESPN will continue next Saturday at 8 o'clock Eastern and 5 Pacific. The Boston Bruins will be going to Toronto to take on the Maple Leafs at Maple Leafs Garden. Toronto really looking for playoff points right now. Toronto's fighting for a spot against St. Louis in that Norris division. Our NHL leaders, Adam Oates, third. 99 points will be featured in that game by the Bruins against Pat Burns' revitalized Toronto Leafs.
When you talk about the all-time great passers in the game, Adam Oates is a member of that company. He is as slick with the puck as any player I have seen, and he has a tremendous knack of finding the open man.
Alf Samuelsson gets the hand standing from the home crowd. We'll be right back. We're back. The benches are being separated by the officials, and I think they're going to end the period right here. Tom Barrasso's leaving. 50.7 seconds left. What they'll do is they'll end the period here just to discourage any more of this activity, come back and complete the period and start the second all at the same time.
Well, as Scotty Bowman was walking off the ice, he had the ear of the linesman, and you know he's aware the linesman helps the referee make a call like this, and Bowman was trying to tell him exactly how things happen a la Pittsburgh Penguin.
Ron Hogarth will take this time to talk with the linesman and determine what penalties will be awarded out. So it started.
There's the left on Roenick. And that's the wrong guy. Hitting Jeremy Roenick for the Hawks is like hitting Lemieux or hitting Yager for the Penguins. And whenever that happens, the rest of the team mounts up and comes to the defense.
That's the time left in the first period. Dwayne Sutter leaving the ice had some words with Kevin Stevens, the coach of the Blackhawks, and Stevens of Pittsburgh. Sutter staying out to talk with Hogarth about what the calls are going to be so he can take him back in. So we'll complete the first period and play the second. All at the same time from the Igloo. It's the Penguins 3 and the Blackhawks nothing. Tom, we're going to just wipe our brow and we'll be back.
All right, Gary, we're going to have bonus coverage in that second period. We'll bring you 20 minutes, 50.7 seconds of hockey when the second period finally gets underway. I think discretion, the better part of hockey here by referee Ron Hogarth. When you have those benches, that's like an incendiary situation when they're right next to each other. And a lot of the older rinks, that's still the way it is. So they will cool off, hopefully, in the locker rooms. And Pittsburgh will, I guess, be content with their 3-0 lead, knowing they're in command of this hockey game at home. And they'll come out with guns blazing, I'm sure, in the second period. Well, I'll tell you who else came out with guns blazing this afternoon at home. The New Jersey Devils, one of the true enigmas of sports. You don't know what you're going to get from this team day in, day out. When they're on, you're in trouble. They're on. Bruce Driver on a power play goal from Nichols and Stastny made it 1-zip. And then Bernie Nichols loads up the cannon, gets a screened goaltender, and makes hay for his 11th of the season, 2-0. And then Seamack with a tip-in of a drive by Scott Stevens. And the Devils with 2 power play goals, 1 full-strength goal, and they lead the Philadelphia Flyers by a score of 3-0. Should the Devils win, they'll pull back within a point of the Rangers in that topsy-turvy Patrick division. When we come back, we'll take a look back at last year's Stanley Cup Finals. After one, almost, it's 3-0 Pittsburgh.
This National Hockey Night Special is presented by the new Dodge, a division of the Chrysler Corporation.
Good afternoon. Welcome to this ESPN National Hockey Night Special edition of Matinee from Pittsburgh. The Penguins in command over the Blackhawks by a score of 3-0. The Penguins were also in command of the Chicago Blackhawks in last spring's Stanley Cup Finals. It was a 4-game sweep, but if you look at the total goals, the two teams only separated by 5 goals. The Blackhawks did taste defeat, but they were very, very competitive. However, when all was said and done, this was a Stanley Cup Final the Penguins like to remember, and the Blackhawks would like to have forgotten. It's been 9.5 months since the Penguins defeated the Blackhawks to capture their second consecutive Stanley Cup. Entering that series, the Hawks were riding a playoff record 11-game winning streak en route to the final. Full of confidence, Chicago discovered what it meant to play in hockey's biggest spotlight.
You know, it's another level up from the regular season. You know, first of all, when you make the playoffs, you're up one level. Then, you know, the first 2 rounds, you make it to the finals, and, you know, that's another level by itself. Just competition goes up that much more.
Nonetheless, the underdog Blackhawks raced out to a 4-1 lead in Game 1 and appeared to be ready to take away the home ice advantage. However,
finals against us, the first game was the game that the key. When they lost that game, you could tell they were dejected.
In Game 2, Pittsburgh found itself in another struggle, but a pair of goals by Mario Lemieux broke a 1-1 tie, sending the Pens into Chicago Stadium with a 2-game lead. Tom Barrasso was the story in Game 3. The Penguins got a fluke goal in the first period and rode a 27-save effort by the big netminder to pull within a game of a second straight title. With a share of the Hawks' playoff record winning streak within their grasp, Kevin Stevens and Ron Francis snapped a 4-4 third period tie to put the Penguins ahead. A Jeremy Roenick tally brought Chicago within a goal, setting the stage for a frantic finish.
The fourth game with about a minute left when we were up by a goal. Just that last minute was probably the greatest minute of my life, knowing that, you know, in 1 minute we're going to win the Stanley Cup with the world champions and hoisting that cup up.
The series was closer than the sweep indicated, with Pittsburgh outscoring the Blackhawks by just 5 goals in 4 games. Now that the Hawks have had a taste of the finals, they hunger for another try at the prize that eluded them last spring.
Obviously, we want to get back to that situation again, and we want to reverse the feelings, obviously.
you know, whenever you get to a final and a championship, you don't go all the way to lose it. And we got there, we lost, and we want to get back there again and sort of change the tides a little bit.
They say everybody remembers the team that wins the championship. Nobody remembers who came in second. Chicago remembers it was them, and maybe the feelings, Al Morganti, have spilled over at the end of this first period.
Well, you know, I saw Mike Keenan up at the All-Star game in Montreal last weekend, and I asked, you know, if you'd stayed in Chicago, would you have made more changes? He said, no, this group earned the right to go prove themselves. They are embarrassed by what happened. I don't care how close it was in goals. They got blown out of that final, and they're trying to send a message to Pittsburgh here. They're not just there to win the North. They think they can win the whole thing, and they're holding a grudge.
I think what Pittsburgh has shown in this hockey game is they can play choose your weapon. I mean, you want to play skating game, offense, you want to fight it out, we'll fight it out with you in the trenches. But besides that, now Pittsburgh is the 5th best defensive team. The best they've been over the last 4 years is 18th. Now they're 5th. They can play it any way you want.
And Pittsburgh, of course, going for the big three-peat. Can they get it? Well, hockey has lent itself more to repeat champions than almost any other team sport over the years. The dynasties of Montreal, the dynasties of Edmonton, the dynasties of the New York Islanders in the early 80s. Repeat finalists over the last 30 years. Pittsburgh looks on track to be one of them certainly here in 92-93. ESPN's National Hockey Night Matinee Edition rolls on with the score. Penguins leading the Chicago Blackhawks 3-0 with just short of the entire first period played. We'll explain that a little bit later. Right now, let's try and make some hay out of the, or some sense out of the Patrick Division standings, Bill. It's a given Pittsburgh's going to win the division, but that's the only given in the division.
It's the only division with a clear-cut favorite. We'll give you that. But the New York Rangers in the middle of the pack haven't decided whether they're Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde yet. But really, the heat is on at the bottom of the division this weekend. Both the Islanders and the Flyers will look back at this weekend as the most important weekend of the season. The Islanders dropped one last night to the Rangers, but they got them at home tonight. They got to pick up tonight. The Philadelphia Flyers, quite frankly, with their home against the Devils, have to get at least 3 out of 4 points. They have to make their move now because they're way below everybody.
As for the Adams division, Al, could it be, in the end, another battle of Quebec between Montreal and Quebec?
It could be a lot of combinations. If you look at this, it's odd. 2 teams out, 4 teams locked into playoff spots. However, Buffalo has a terrible road record. They have to try to get up with Grand Fury and get some home ice. Montreal, I think, one of the more underrated teams in the league, a stealth team. They should be a real contender. Quebec's going to stay steady. Boston gets Cam Neely back in about 10 days. They could make a pretty good run here.
As for the Norris division, the Chicago Blackhawks, Bill, come in on top, but they are far from in a commanding position. They have to play the Red Wings at home Sunday night. A lot can happen.
Well, let's take this one from the bottom up. How about that? Tampa Bay, they're having a good season even though they're out of it. St. Louis and Toronto will fight it out till the end. I always go with the best defensive team, so you got to give the nod to Toronto. Minnesota is sitting pretty. Detroit is fine as well. The one thing the Blackhawks don't want to get into is a race for first place at the end of the hockey season. Teams have wasted themselves during the regular season. That's why it's important for the Blackhawks now to create a cushion.
Now, last night in Buffalo, we saw a very impressive performance by Pat Quinn's Canucks. They beat the Sabres 3-1, but they're only on top by 5 in the Smythe.
Exactly. The Smythe is the most interesting division, I feel. Vancouver, okay, they're locked in. Edmonton still has a shot. Edmonton's going to make a go at Los Angeles, where Gretzky's struggling. Winnipeg by no means is locked in. Winnipeg could slip. Winnipeg's not a team that has that much talent that they can just cruise through. And Calgary, Al McInnes coming back. I think after Vancouver, Calgary's in the best shape, maybe the best shape going into the playoffs.
Now, in the Campbell Conference, the Norris and the Smythe Division champions will play one another. Do you think form will hold, Bill, and you're going to have Chicago, Vancouver?
No, I think Calgary. I had Calgary at the beginning of the season. I like Calgary coming out of that division. Vancouver's got a terrific team. Pat Quinn does an excellent job. In the Norris division, I like Chicago. I think it'll be Chicago, Calgary.
All right, well, we played all but 50.7 seconds of the first period. Why did we stop short, put the rest on ice? Well, Samuelson saw fit to hit Jeremy Roenick in the face with a gloved left hand. And then all hell broke loose in front of the benches. We'll have 20 minutes plus coming up for you in a few moments. Tom Bees and Bill Clement back in our National Hockey Night studios. And Bill, for Chicago, Ed Belfour, he's an all-star goaltender. Gave up 2 early goals. He was yanked. Justifiable?
Well, coaches see if the goaltender looks shaky, and Ed Belfour may have looked shaky, but I think if we look at this goal again, the second one that got him pulled, you might notice that it's not his fault. I'll show you what I'm talking about. On the play, Larry Murphy here sees that Chris Chelios is caught out of position, so he gets it into Stevens very quickly. Now, as soon as Stevens gets it, you can see Chelios is not back. Belfour is not square to Stevens. He's looking out here. Why? Well, Stevens has an option. He's got Yager wide open on the other side, so he can pass to Yager. He can shoot to the short side. He can shoot between Belfour's legs. What I'm saying is, on this particular one, don't blame the guy that circled, Eddie Belfour.
And Belfour was pulled and sat down in favor of Jim Waite, and Waite will be in there bearing the brunt of the Pittsburgh attack in the second and probably the third periods as well. A lot of action going on at the Meadowlands in New Jersey. Flyers got 2 goals to make it a 1-goal game, but Stefan Riche has just scored for the New Jersey Devils. So, midway in the second period of play at the Meadowlands, the Devils lead the Flyers 4-2. We'll have highlights of that game during the afternoon. Back in a moment.
This special presentation of ESPN Hockey Night is brought to you by the new Dodge, a division of the Chrysler Corporation, and by A1. It's how steak is done.
Gary Thorne, Jim Schoenfeld back with you at the Igloo as we've got 50.7 seconds to go in the first period that will be completed, and then we'll start the second period with the Pittsburgh Penguins are leading it by a score of 3-0. Pittsburgh getting on the board early at 1:31 from Larry Murphy, getting his 14th of the year.
Simply a shot from the middle of the ice that eludes Belfour. He should have made that save. It was not a difficult shot, nor was that one. Belfour very shaky and was pulled after the second goal. Airy coming down, snaps a long wrister to beat Waite. Not a good goal either. However, the goals were not great. The play of the Penguins was.
Our scoring summary, Murphy's 14th at 1:31. The assist going to Tocchet on the even strength goal. Then Stevens got his 43rd of the year for Murphy and Tocchet on the power play. That came at 5:40, and that took Belfour out of net. Bob Airy got his 8th from Tippett and Needham at 11:03, another even strength goal. Then we have the big brouhaha at the end of the period, and they are just announcing the penalties now. So we're waiting to get the calls here as to who's gone and who's still here. They did not make the decisions until they had gone into the dressing room, and then Ron Hogarth talked to the linesman, and as they came out here, he went over to the scorer's table and made the announcement. So 50.7 left to go here in the first period. Goaltenders stay where they are, and then they will switch ends.
They don't all stay where they are. Waite has gone to the bench, and Belfour has gone into the Chicago net.
Belfour started the game, gave up 2 goals, came out at 5:40 of the first period. Waite came on for him. Now Waite has gone back to the bench, and Eddie Belfour has gone back in net.
What makes that an unusual move is not the fact that Belfour went back in. It's the fact that Waite went to the net, Belfour went to the bench, and then the change was made. You think that change would have been made during the intermission?
Waite, and now in front of the bench, it starts all over again. And Ron Hogarth's going to call some more. Keith Brown was in front of the Pittsburgh bench and was in a yakking conversation with a number of Pittsburgh Penguins. Hogarth was standing right there, and now he is gone.
Did you bring your skates? There's not going to be enough players to finish this game. The penalty benches are getting full, and the player benches are emptying.
Question is to bring another sheet of paper so we can keep track of all the penalties here. We'll give these to you just as soon as we can get them down. As I said, they just made the announcement when we came back, so the statistician is writing feverishly here. There's going to be an extra 2 minutes put up. We already were skating 4-on-4. There had been matching minors before the brouhaha to Graham and Stanton. Now there's an extra 2 minutes up for the Blackhawks as Brown has picked up an unsportsmanlike conduct here. So the Penguins are going to have a 4-on-3 power play opportunity. Pittsburgh has already scored 1 power play goal in this game. It's not going to get any easier keeping track of what's going on here. I can tell that.
And this is not how the Hawks wanted to end the first period with 50.7 seconds left. Do not adjust your set. That's why the goaltenders are at the same position they were when the game started. They'll switch ends in 45 seconds.
Power play for Pittsburgh. They've scored 1 power play goal in the previous 2 chances. I'll tell you right now, the game misconduct went to Brian Marchman. He got thrown out of the game. He's the one who's not going to be back in this game. Murphy tried to get it, tipped away from him to center. Marchman got a 5 for fighting, a 2 for instigating, and a gain. Chelios a 5 for fighting and a 10 misconduct. Gilbert a 10 misconduct. Those are the Chicago penalties. 20 seconds left to go in the first period. Offside, thank God. I can tell you what Pittsburgh got. Alf Samuelson got 2 for high sticking, 5 for fighting, and a game. So he's gone. Caulfield got a game. He's gone. Francis got a 10. Shell Samuelson got a 10. Those are the penalties that came from the scuffling that took place in front of the benches. So we've lost 3 players. Chicago has lost Marchment. Pittsburgh has lost Caulfield and Alf Samuelson. And the power play is underway here for the Pittsburgh Penguins. 4-on-3. 10 seconds left to go in the period. Then it'll be the end of the first. The goaltenders will change ends, and we'll start the second period. Christian Ruutu intercepted, sends it the other way. That's the time remaining in the period. Tom Barrasso touches it up. There's the period. Now you get to watch them change ends. Maybe the 2 goaltenders will whack each other on the way by. Eddie Belfour and Tom Barrasso.
Barrasso finding out which way are you going, Eddie. If you're going to go to your left, I'll go to my right. And let's not meet. They went wide around the circle. There was no pad tapping there.
On our Budweiser scoreboard, New Jersey had a 3-0 lead in that game. Philadelphia's come back with a couple. That's not over. Tonight, big games in the Patrick division right there. Hartford playing at Calgary. Hartford out of the playoff picture. Calgary's position not established. Montreal leading their division in the Adams against Ottawa, who's won their games at home this year. Minnesota-Toronto, there's a huge matchup for a playoff spot. Same there with Detroit and St. Louis. Washington will be playing at Los Angeles as they're out west. Now we're in the second period, folks. Power play still underway. 4-on-3 power play for Pittsburgh. Murphy and Tocchet working it out front. Stevens down low. Murphy's got it. Murphy looking. Drops it off in front. Stevens centered, intended for Tocchet on the near side. Hooked back into the zone. This season, in the 2 games that these teams have played, Pittsburgh has picked up 3 power play goals on 8 chances against Chicago. The best power play in the National Hockey League right now is what you're looking at. Yager's shot save, rebound, Belfour score! Yager will not count. It will not count. The whistle had blown. Belfour had covered it long enough. Hogarth immediately said no goal.
It won't count, but I think we'll find out in the replay that it should count. Belfour did not have that puck smothered. At least I don't think he did. Tocchet very alert, driving to the net after the initial shot. Jars the puck loose, and Yager is near the crease to bang it into the net.
Now listen and see whether or not you can hear the whistle while you're watching the puck. Listen for the whistle. Boy, I heard the whistle after Yager had hit the puck, but before it went across the line.
Absolutely. That should be a goal. The puck was never frozen, but a split-second call and a tough call by Ron Hogarth.
And remember the rule in the National Hockey League: if the official loses sight of the puck, blow the whistle. That's a rule. So if Ron Hogarth could not see it, even if it was free, he blows the whistle, and that ends that. Stevens drops it back in the middle. Power play still underway. Shot wide of the net on Belfour. Murphy down low, plays it. 20 seconds of the power play. 5-on-4 now as the 2 matching minors come out. Short-handed effort still. Brent Sutter drops it in the middle. The move by Smith. Save and cleared up to Murphy. 2-on-1 break with Tocchet coming. Stevens has it. Stevens and Tocchet. Stevens to Tocchet. It was behind him. Rolled in on goal. A Steve Smith skate. Belfour the save. 3-0 Pens. Tom.
Hi, Gary. In New Jersey, the Flyers had scored 2 goals to get back within 1 of the Devils, but Stéphane Richer, who's been known to score a goal or 2 in his time, between the legs of Tommy Soderstrom, Devils 4, Flyers 2. Getting late now in the second period in New Jersey. Gary?
Going into a shootout there. We're underway in the second period here at Belfour back in net.
And yet another 2-on-1 by the Pittsburgh Penguins. Transition game. Magnificent today. And Belfour comes up with a save on Tocchet.
Pittsburgh, when they've had the lead after 1 period, are 27-2-3. They've lost only 2 games where they've been able to go to the dressing room in the lead after 1. Don't come back on this team. Shot in wide to Tom Barrasso. Batted at, not out of the zone. Held in deep that time by Pittsburgh Penguins' Dave Tippett. Boy, away from the action. Sticks, elbows, enormous hits going on. In front, Larmer. Somehow didn't get it. Larmer again. Barrasso doesn't have it. It's loose behind the net. Cleared up by Tippett. Not out of the zone. Turnaround shot intended for Roenick, but he could not kick it in. He was all alone on the far side post. Stanton will just clear it out of the zone, and they'll change it up. Out of the penalty box now, we're back at even strength. Right side, Larmer. Larmer looking in the middle. Barrasso poked it away. Stepan Matteau was there, but Barrasso got it Yager. This is Pittsburgh's kind of game. Yager takes the shot, saved by Belfour.
That Matteau chance on Tom Barrasso was a very alert play by Ed Belfour. He saw the Penguins making a line change, immediately moved the puck up into the neutral zone. The Hawks were able to transition and get a good scoring chance against the Penguin goaltender, Tom Barrasso. This is the end of that play. The little dump out front. Barrasso's got to come up with a big poke check on Matteau as he's driving to the net. And then Yager with his speed coming down. And whenever he has the puck, it is a very dangerous time for a defender. A little wrister. Belfour's right there and it hits him in the chest.
Eddie Belfour trying to gain some confidence back. And he'll do it right there on McEachran's shot. What a rookie this kid is. Sean McEachran, third leading rookie scorer in the National Hockey League, but overshadowed by all the other stars here in Pittsburgh. 17:37 left to go in this second period. There are the game misconducts. Blackhawks losing Brian Marchment, Alf Samuelson, Bob Airy, and Jay Caulfield all lost to game misconducts by Pittsburgh for all the activity that took place in front of the net.
Can that young man skate? Just what the Penguins needed. Another speed demon, and boy, can he go.
He is fast. Out of Boston University and the United States Olympic team, Sean McEachran. Steve Smith will bring it out for the Blackhawks. He'll headman, blue line, trying to do it himself. He'll chase it down in the corner. No one else has touched the puck this rush. Dirk Graham finally gets it. Graham tied up by McEachran, sends it back. Jim Pack is there. Far side, Graham. Graham looking, tried to center. Pittsburgh knocked it away again. Yager to Tocchet. Shot in by Tocchet wide. Eddie Belfour plays it. And Belfour and Yager collide behind the net. Yager got pinned up, but Yager wisely just laid there, didn't let anything happen. Stevens, the wrist shot wide. Held in Grant Jennings. Jennings dumped it behind the net. Picked up by Yager. Delayed call coming up here. Tripping call, I believe, as Smith got dumped in behind the net as the sticks were up, and this, I believe, is going to be in the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Well, things have not slowed down any, and certainly the hitting has not let up. These two teams are going at it every shift, and whenever there's a whistle, there's some jawing going on after the whistle.
Grant Jennings is going to the penalty box to join some teammates there.
This is the activity. A good hit here coming up by Krepchek, and the play will continue behind the net, and it was Smith who got dumped. And that was the cause of the Pittsburgh penalty.
3:09 for Upping today on ESPN. You see what's coming up. The Houston Marathon at 5:30. The Daytona 500 special. Same day coverage. And at 6, Cadillac Senior PGA. Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate Challenge. Sports Center bringing you up to date on all the day's activities. Lots of basketball, of course, too. And NASCAR Busch Series, the Goodies 300 coming up at 8 o'clock. That's all on ESPN today. So Pittsburgh Penguins will be shorthanded. A power play chance for the Chicago Blackhawks. There you see the penalty minutes already piled up in this game, and we're only 3.5 minutes into the second period. A long way to go in this one. Blackhawks unable to convert on the power play chances they had earlier, 2 of them. See what they can do with it here. In front, tipped. Goulet on the near side, along with Roenick down low. Punched in at the point by Kuchera. Good job by Kuchera to hold it in. Goulet goes back to the point. Keith Brown. Pittsburgh coming way out offside. That forced it. Pittsburgh penalty killers are really spread out. They're not holding any kind of a box at all. They are challenging the movement of the puck.
They may be a little more aggressive with the 2 Samuelsons unable to go out and kill penalties in the blue line. Let's force the Hawks with the puck high. We don't want to have as much activity in front of Tom Barrasso because we don't have our 2 big guys to move people out from in front of the net.
New York City's own Joey Mullen. Only 1 goal in his last 9 games, but on the specialty teams, He's one of those get-down-dirty kind of guys.
He's a player they'll look to fill the Lemieux loss on the power play. He's good with the puck, certainly has a great nose for the net, and he can settle things down for the Penguins.
Kuchera sent it into the corner. Cleared up by Stanton, but not out of the zone. There's Mullen taking the centering pass, and he clears. Fell for it the other end with 1:11 left on this Chicago power play. Blackhawks #1 in their division. But the power play, not good at all, as we mentioned earlier. Chicago 20th in the league on power plays. They are 2 for 8 against Pittsburgh in power play chances in the 2 games this season. Poked up, but not out of the zone by the Pens need him. Chicago trying to get it set up. Graham dumped it behind the net, and it's cleared again. Larry Murphy got it out of the zone. 40 seconds remaining on the power play. Radosek Kuchera working one of the points on it. Sent in by Stefan Matteau. Jim Pack over to get it for Pittsburgh. Pack pushed it up. Matteau got it back. Matteau backs it in behind the net. Intended for Brent Sutter, but he couldn't reach it. Comes to the near side point, Smith. Down to 20 seconds on the power play. Noonan dropped it in. Sutter. Pack dove along the ice that time and knocked it away. Sutter again tied up. Sutter down on the ice. Chicago unable to hold it in. With only 6 seconds left on the advantage as Tocchet along the boards. He and Stanton did a great job. Now Tippett forechecking. And the penalty's over. They've killed it off again. Out of the box comes Grant Jennings. Tippett's got it. Tippett. Tocchet in the middle with him. Jennings to Tocchet. Taken away is Smith. Poke checked the pass intended for Tocchet. Back up Stefan Matteau. Tom Barrasso plays it wide of the net. Shots 15-14 in favor of Pittsburgh, and the fans sellout crowd here. They are loving the action they are seeing here, and the fact their Pens up 3-0 doesn't hurt the crowd. Offside on Pittsburgh. ESPN special edition of the National Hockey League 3-0 Pens. Tom Barrasso. Pittsburgh has not given up a goal now in the last 7 periods, as they are coming into this game with their first ever team back-to-back shutouts. Barrasso involved in both of them. Ruggett the first one. Barrasso had to come in for him. Shot by Mullen, deflected wide. Then Tom Barrasso in the last game against the Rangers picked up the win. Ruggett got cut in the game against Boston when he went most of the way on a Joey Juneau shot. He's on the bench, the backup goaltender for this one. Stevens behind the net. Stevens in the offensive zone. Dumped it the other way. Stevens doing battle. Stevens able to knock it away. Tried to get it to Stapleton. Mullen picks it up. Mullen to Stapleton too high. Bounced off the body on him that time. Krista Ruutu picked the loose one up. Graham from the blue line. Wide of Tom Barrasso. Ruutu behind the net. Had Paul Stanton on him. Puck just sits. Pittsburgh will pick it up. Even strength here. 13:41 left to go in the second period. Mullen couldn't get it. Kravchuk does. Away from the play. We're going to get another interference call, and that's that extra hitting going on in this game. And this time it's going to be a power play coming up for the Pittsburgh Penguins as Grimson goes out.
The difference in the game, the Hawks had a good turnover transition. They're on the attack, but it turns into a 3-on-3, not a 3-on-2 or a 2-on-1, as the Penguins beat them back. And there's Grimson to your right of your screen, dumping Kevin Stevens, and he'll sit in the box for the next 2 minutes.
That'll get the power play back to the #1 power play unit in the game, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Grimson out. On our Budweiser scoreboard, we'll keep track of that other game going on for you today. And now New Jersey's really jumped out on Philadelphia 6-2. Tonight, Rangers and Islanders in a rematch. They're playing back-to-back series. Rangers won the other one. You see the other games. It'll take place all later on tonight. Grimson in the penalty box. 576 penalty minutes in 151 games.
Yikes.
I think has a total of 3 points. And he's added a couple more to that on the interference at 6:22. So the Pittsburgh Penguins with a chance to up their 3-0 lead here. Go back to work on the power play. This will be their 4th power play chance of the game. They have 1 power play goal scored by Stevens, his 43rd. That came in the first period, and Pittsburgh got all 3 of their goals. Larry Murphy working behind the net. He also has a goal here, his 14th of the year. Ahead for Yager. Yager, Stevens, Tocchet. Yager, Tocchet in the middle. Trying to get it to him. Yager came right back to him. Oh, Pittsburgh will set it up. Larry Murphy along the blue line. He's got a great shot and can pass. Yager, Tocchet. Great setup. Tocchet just couldn't get a stick on it as it came through. Doug Graham waits and clears.
Yager undressed Igor Kravchuk at the Chicago blue line. He can dangle with the puck, Gary. Boy, it looks like you have him, you have the puck, and he's by you before you know it.
He is so quick. He's got that big jump in his step. Belfour had trouble handling it. Stevens almost caught it behind the net. Played on the near side by Stepan Matteau. Banged it right into Tocchet. Held it in. Stevens centers. That goes off Smith. Smith hasn't got a stick out there. It's broken, so he wants to pin it up for a whistle, and he gets it. Fans, realizing his stick was broken, thought he should have had a penalty for delay. There won't be any.
Jaromir Jagr. Boy, can he skate. Give him the puck, and great things are going to happen. There's the move right there. So quick. His hands, his feet. He's so alert at all times. Be interesting to see where he is in his career in another 3-4 years, Gary.
He won't come off the ice either. He's one of the first guys out and last guys off for any practice, any occasion. He loves to play. When he gets out on the ice, Scotty Bowman has said he has to pull him off because he just won't leave. Picked up by Murphy. Murphy dumps it into the McEachron. McEachron with Stevens poked away. Larry Murphy saved. Belfour rebound loose. Played behind the net by the Blackhawks. Great chance. Cleared out of the zone. Kuchera. Short-handed effort the other way. Off the side of the net, Larmer. Short-handed chance, but it was wide on the short side. 33 seconds left on the power play. Larmer on the far side again. Steve Larmer. He had the opportunity right there for the Blackhawks. Kuchera. Save made by Barrasso. McEachron picks it up. 20 seconds of the power play. Jagr. Jagr got it ahead. Intercepted by Sutter. Re-intercepted McEachron. Mullen tipped it in. Mullen going to the net. Mullen the shot. Outside of the net. Mullen centered. Saved by Barrasso. And he covers up. Chance again for Kevin Stevens. 3-0 Pittsburgh.
Chicago's Steve Larmer has a chance as Jaromir Jagr is playing the point in the power play and gets caught up the ice a little bit in the neutral zone. And at the other end, Belfour stops Kevin Stevens after he makes the save there.
On Joey
Mullen, yep. The rebound was Stevens, but we didn't quite get to that one.
Banged up off the boards, played by Troy Loney. Loney moving shot. He had no angle, and he hit the side of the net. Even strength here. I'm telling you that. We've had so many in the box. Shot, save made, covered up wide of the net. And a whistle on it. Mike Needham in front had the scoring opportunity alone. Belfour covered it up, and he couldn't pick the puck up to get it over Ed Belfour.
You think back to Daryl Sutter. Couple of good moves. Number one, taking Belfour out of the net, settling him down. The second one, putting Belfour back in the net. Since he's come back in the net, he's been very sound for the Blackhawks. And the Penguins, although they've had a lot of activity in front of the Chicago goaltender, have not scored since the first period.
Mike Needham played in 5 playoff games last season. That's all. He's been up and down this season again with the Chicago Blackhawks. He's 22 years old. 5'8", 185-pounder, doesn't get a lot of playing time. He's a fourth-line guy, and depending on injuries, may or may not be here. But as we said, he's one of the people getting some valuable playing time. Noonan the shot, wide of Barrasso. Blackhawks cannot crack this Pittsburgh defense or Tom Barrasso. Cleared out of the zone. We're going to get people coming back out on the ice here momentarily, about 30 seconds. Those who had the 10-minute misconducts, Chelios and Gilbert for Chicago. It'll be Francis and Shel Samuelson coming back to Pittsburgh. They're all waiting impatiently in the box. Needham dump pass. Shot wide up the side of the net. Troy Loney the opportunity. Chicago, Kuchera. Kuchera looking for some help in the middle, finds Sutter. Brent Sutter. Chicago needs a change. Into the zone, Barrasso with it. Tom Barrasso off the boards. Here's Larry Murphy. Murphy gets turned around by Christian Ruutu. Tippett able to flip it into the zone. Ron Hogarth's having to watch as much behind the play as he is where the puck is in this game as the hitting continues. Picked up by Steve Smith. Smith of the Blackhawks moves in. Jagr had it, lost it. Smith behind the net, looking to center Noonan. Jagr read it. In fact, he read it beautifully. He was waiting for the pass. Jagr sends it back for Jim Pack. Shots 2016 in favor of the Pens. Rolls out to center ice. Smith tips it away from Tocchet. Blackhawks trying to break Goulet, could not. Murphy got it over to Tocchet. Tocchet looking wide side. Jagr, aerial pass too high for him. Jagr turned around by Larmer. Jagr, Tocchet, and McEachron on this line. That's McEachron right there. McEachron pinned up, but not giving up the puck. John McEachron still kicking at it as he's held on to by Igor Kravchuk. Yager waiting for it. Got it. Yager wants a wraparound. Larmer denies. Sent back to McEachran. McEachran to Tocchet at no angle, so he dumps it in the wide side corner. Larmer says enough of this, but he can't get it out. McEachran saved by Belfour. Centered. Comes back to Goulet. Michel Goulet gets it out of the zone. Jeremy Roenick, who's not been heard from in this game, is being shut down. Yager drops it off for Tocchet. Pittsburgh is just dominating. Stanton shot. Save. Yager into Belfour. And a penalty coming up on Yager for goaltender interference. The new rule this season is you must make every effort to avoid hitting the goaltender no matter where he is on the ice, including in the crease. Every effort. If you don't, you go for goaltender interference, and that's what's happened to Yager.
Well, that may be an effort by Ron Hogarth to prevent Chicago retaliation. As Yager is going to the net with the puck, and he's being pushed by a Chicago defender. Maybe a good call because there's no ride. I don't know if it's a good call on Jaromir Jagr. He certainly does not think so. Again, the Penguins' speed and evidence in this period. And the Blackhawk defenders are having an impossible time trying to pin the Penguin forwards against the boards and in the corners. The Penguins coming up with a loose puck. They're out grinding the Hawks. They're beating the Hawks to the loose pucks. And they're beating them on the transition. A tremendous game by the Penguins. The Hawks have not played that poorly, but the Penguins have just played that extremely well today.
Jaromir Jagr gets the goaltending interference call at 10:50. Chris Chelios has been yakking it up over there with Paul Stanton. They were standing up on their respective penalty boxes. Stanton has picked up a 10-minute misconduct penalty, and he's going because there's only 9:10 left to go in the period. He's not out of the game. Just a 10-minute misconduct, and that was the result of something he said to Ron Hogarth after the call on Jaromir Jagr. It just won't end. Chicago goes back on the power play, trailing 3-0. Behind the net, František Kucherov. A 3-0 lead for Pittsburgh. 8:59 to go in the second period. You had the big roustabout in the final minute of the first. 3 players ejected on game misconducts, and we're on the verge of having that happen again here in this game. Jeremy Roenick, Chicago, get right back in it with a goal here. Kucherov drops it. Kucherov the shot, blocked. Mullen, and he plays it on the stick. Drags it to Jim Pack. Chicago changing. Pack around. Got it by Mateau.
Joey Mullen and the Penguins have done a tremendous job of shutting down the Chicago power play all afternoon.
Blackhawks a minute 10 on the power play. Dumped it to Brian Noonan. Noonan in the middle. Turnaround shot. Save made on the turnaround shot, and Sutter's tip. Stephane Mateau racked it hard, and Sutter was standing there, and Tom Barrasso denied both. Sutter dumped it ahead. Mateau back to Noonan. Noonan. Mateau goes behind the net. Noonan gets it to him. Noonan to Sutter in front. Blocked by Barrasso in the pass. Kravchuk. Smith. Shot deflected out deep again. Tippett blocked it. Brought back in Smith. Shot. Save. Barrasso on Sutter again as he knocked it wide. Mateau hit by Tocchet. 30 on the power play. Mateau shot. Knocked away this time in front of the net by Shel Samuelson. The 10-minute misconducts are over, and all those guys we mentioned are back. They tried to get it to Noonan near side. He has to come up to chase it down, though. 16 on the power play. Noonan dropped it. Sutter trying to center it. Barrasso covers, and there's the whistle. And there's the pileup.
Tremendous job by the Penguin penalty killers. However, when there is a breakdown by the penalty killers, there is Tom Barrasso as Stephane Mateau tries to get that one past him and is denied.
Shot hit the side of the net. There you see the power play time remaining for Chicago. Smith's shot deflected by Sutter wide. Mullen clears. Penalty's over. Francis drops it to Jagr. Jagr knocked down, and a penalty coming up on the Blackhawks. Dave Christian playing in his 994th game. Dave Christian hauled down Jagr. Power play for the Pens. Tom Eaves.
All right, Gary, things are heating up in New Jersey. First of all, you're going to see a heck of a shot here by Alexander Semak. Goes top shelf short side to make it 6-2 New Jersey. The Flyers come back on the power play. From behind the net, Joseph Baranek hats in the rebound past Chris Terreri at the end of 2 at the Meadowlands. The Devils doubling the Flyers 6-3.
Jaromir Jagr just came out of the penalty box, and he and Ron Francis had the chance.
Situation of a forward checking a forward in the defensive zone. Christian does a good job of coming back, but Jagr's speed and strength, it's tough to get good body position on him. You have to hook him, hold him, pull him down. It's the only way to stop Jaromir Jagr.
He goes for tripping. Pittsburgh back on the power play. They have 1 power play goal, and that's going to be outside the line, offside. Murphy, Stevens, and Airy have the goals for Pittsburgh. That Devils-Flyers game is so important. Here's why. The Flyers are going to play the Devils twice, today and tomorrow in Philadelphia. If they could win both, they're right back in it. If they lose, they're gone. For the Devils, they are fighting the Islanders here, trying to gain ground on the Rangers in Washington. Typical Patrick Division finish, huh? Pittsburgh 1 for 4 in the power play. This is their 5th opportunity of the game. Blackhawks clear. 16,164, the 20th sellout of the season on hand here today. Tom Barrasso drops it off to Ron Francis. Picked up by Murphy in the corner. Murphy from Tocchet, first goal. Stevens, Murphy, and Tocchet in the second. Airy from Tippett and Needham on the 3rd Pittsburgh goal. Larry Murphy. Ron Francis. Ron Hogarth got hit with that puck as it bounced up when Jagr played it. Jagr trying to hold it in. Couldn't. Christian Ruutu jammed it up in the air and out of the zone, and Graham will finish it off the rest of the length of the ice. Francis going back to get it. Jeremy Roenick over to get him. Kjell Samuelsson. Gosh, when you hit him, it's got to be like a wall. Roenick back over to Smith. Samuelsson, tallest in the National Hockey League, 6'8". Weighs about 230. Big Kjell Samuelsson.
About your size.
Yeah, same size. Yeah, his arms are. Dropped off the Tocchet. His arms are as big as me.
I knew what you meant.
I know you did. Short-handed effort. Larmer again and again deflected by Barrasso into the seats. Twice. Steve Larmer's had a short-handed chance in this game, and twice Barrasso has denied it. College basketball coming up on ESPN tonight, the midnight hour. Wilson Pickett, 9 o'clock. It'll be Utah and Hawaii, 9 Pacific, midnight Eastern. Utah ranked number 16. Josh Grant leading them, almost 17 a game for it.
When Tom Barrasso is hot, he is sizzling, and he's going for his 3rd shutout. Actually, his 2nd, as he and Reggett shared one. And that was a little help from his friend, the defenseman, as he deflected that shot over the glass. Barrasso has been very solid in the Penguin net today.
Stopping Steve Larmer, one of the game's great scorers. 220-plus goal seasons, 11 years now. And, of course, he's the Iron Man of the National Hockey League. Larmer's playing in his 859th consecutive games, most of any active player and 3rd most ever. Troy Loney sends it in. Ed Belfour behind the net. Picked up by Steve Smith. Chicago's got to be wondering here, what have we got to do to score in this game? 5:08 left to go in the second. They are still down 3-0. Kjell Samuelsson. He held it up long enough for Dave Tippett to pick it up. Tippett got it away. Needham. 3-on-3 break. Troy Loney dumped it in, trying to hit Pack. Belfour came out to play it, left it behind the net. Knocked away. Goulet trying to get it out, couldn't get it by Needham. Needham reaching in from behind on the loose puck. Tippett kicking at it. Needham's got it. Needham's got Tippett in front of the net. Troy Loney heads for behind the net. Loney tied up by Smith. Pittsburgh doing a great job territorially. Kjell Samuelsson saved Belfour. Rebound just wide of the net by Tippett, who got dumped as he took the shot. And behind the play, a penalty in the corner. More than one by the looks of it. Ron Hogarth signaling high sticking here away from the puck.
Frustration. The Hawks cannot pin the Penguin forwards to the boards. The Penguins are loving this. They're out grinding the Hawks at every opportunity. They're just throwing the puck back and forth behind the net. Take some time off the clock, frustrate the Hawks a little more. Hope they're going to take a bad penalty. The one thing the Hawks need, and you and I both like this team, they can grind it out. They have a great defense, terrific goaltending. Their production falls off dramatically after Roenick and Larmer. They need another goal scorer, and they need some younger legs, a little more speed. There's the activity. Noonan getting down and giving Tippett a little ride. And that's one of about 450 hits tonight.
All of them looking a lot like that. 15:35. Smith high sticking. Tippett slashing. Belfour makes the save as we'll skate 4-on-4 here. Eddie Belfour, as we said, is having a great season. He got off to a very slow start. Now has gone 27, 12, and 7. A .905 save percentage for him coming into this game, which isn't going to be helped out by what's happened thus far. And also the goals against, 259, is second best in the league. But Pittsburgh's had the better of him on some goals that, while they weren't soft, weren't the kind of goals a goaltender's going to look back on and be happy about. Murphy's shot went wide. Christian Ruutu's got it. Ruutu drops it off. Shot by Roenick, and that one was wide, way wide, into the corner, in fact. Played at center ice by Kuchera. Kuchera gets it back. 4 minutes left to go. 4-on-4 situation. We're in the second period here at the Igloo. Chris Chelios back out with Roenick. Roenick trying to drop it off for Graham. Roenick got it down low to Ruutu. Ruutu, Jim Pack on him, freed it up for Tocchet. Tocchet, who used to be, when he was with Philadelphia, talked about only in terms of hitting. Now they talk about hitting and scoring. And Tocchet back check right there to free the puck up. Chelios sends it wide side, intended for Larmer. Poke checked away, 2-on-1 break again. Here they come. McEachran in the middle. Tocchet, McEachran. That was blocked by Chelios. Rebound is on the net and underneath the glove of Ed Belfour. 3-0 Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh fans come young and old. This is a great city for hockey. They really love hockey. Supported here with all kinds of sellout crowds. Afternoon games, a lot of family people on hand. They're seeing the Pittsburgh Penguins, two-time Stanley Cup champions, leading here 3-0 against the Chicago Blackhawk team that they beat in 4 straight to win the Cup last year. Yager again. Yager centered, deflected wide, but what a play to Mike Stapleton. He is putting on a show in this game. Blackhawks trying to crack the nut here. Barrasso knocks it into the corner off Sutter's shot. Sutter got hit by Stapleton. Holding it in wide side, Larmer lost it. They're still skating, 4-on-4 situation, another 37 seconds. Driven into the zone by Mike Stapleton. Stapleton centering Yager. Missed him though. Puck was behind him. Larmer by Yager, but not enough to keep it away from him. Yager and Larmer do battle. Picked up by Kravchuk. Igor Kravchuk is in and offside by about a couple of steps in the right wing.
Doesn't matter what Penguin you see, Yager, Stapleton, when it's a one-on-one situation against a Hawk defender, the Penguin forward generally wins that battle, and that's why they're winning the hockey game.
21 goals for him, 42 assists coming into the game.
Here he comes from the corner, his head's up, and he tries to pass out to Stapleton, who is tied up by Larmer, who comes back. Larmer does it both ends of the rink his entire career. A lot of guys would give up on that play, and you'd end up having a 4-0 deficit. That's Steve Larmer. He's always in the game and always working.
Great worker. On the near side, Stevens brings it in. Stevens has picked up his 43rd goal of the season in this game to Ron Francis. Francis pinned up in the corner, 2:34 left to go. Murphy stepped up, poked it in, intercepted. Kuchera in his own zone finds Chelios behind the net. Pittsburgh Penguins, back-to-back shutouts coming into this. They didn't give up a goal in the first. They haven't given up a goal yet in the second. Shot wide by Kuchera. Stevens trying to clear it out. Francis has got it. Murphy following. Francis. Murphy. Save Belfour. Right into the chest. And for Tom Barrasso, there are the numbers. 179 consecutive minutes between he and Reggett in the last 2+ games. The 2 shutouts, and then what's been the lapse time here in this one.
Gary, that is a team accomplishment. That's something that the entire team will take great pride in if they can continue that, of course, through this game and try to keep that streak going. Shutouts, of course, the goaltender gets the credit, but it's a team effort that causes shutouts, and Tom Barrasso knows that as well as any goaltender in the National Hockey League.
The overall goals against, 3.17, is 5th best in the National Hockey League for Pittsburgh, but since Lemieux's been out, the goals against is 2.70, and in the last 10 games, 1.98.
An amazing transformation. Again, give Bowman credit. He convinced the team that's the way to play winning hockey without the big guy in the lineup.
That's what they're doing. Sent into the wide side by Dave Christian. Tipped away to Goulet. Goulet hit by Francis. Goulet kicked at it. At the point, Chelios in battle. The sticks get up again. Look at him stare. Here's Chelios, who doesn't mind putting that stick up high. He and Stevens that time really had a stare down. Both of them just stared, though, and turned. Joey Mullen. Minute 37 to go in the period. Stevens, pace of this game slowing down dramatically. Mainly because Chicago just can't generate anything, and their frustration beginning to show. Back comes Jocelyn Lemieux. Barrasso gloves it. Del Samuelson clears up in front of the net for him, knocking Goulet down. Lemieux.
Barrasso looks so confident in the net. He's well out. He's challenging the shooter at every shot, and when he has the initial save, he very often either controls or smothers the rebound.
Second intermission, we'll send you back. Tom with Bill and Al, and they'll have the update on the Devils Flyers highlights. And L's going to be in the corner. Gretzky in the slump. Lindros return, and the woes of the Sharks. All coming up. Minute 23 left to go in the second period. Shots are 26-21 in favor of the Pittsburgh Penguins, who have the 3-0 lead. Draw will be to the right of Barrasso. Visiting player, got to get your stick down first. Took Christian Ruud a while, but he did. But McEachran won the draw. Grant Jennings got up along the board. Yager got it out. McEachran, Yager, and Tocchet. There's a line for you. McEachran moving in. Look at the skates move. Back for the point. Jennings the shot. Didn't get a lot on it. Covered up by Belfort. And they separate one another. Norris division. We talked about the Patrick division earlier. In the Norris, it's far from settled as to who's going to be in what position for the playoffs, or even who's going to be there. First place isn't settled. Chicago's trying to put some distance up here. Detroit, Minnesota, but 1 point. And St. Louis has made their way back. They have tied Toronto last week at 1 point. They're only 2 points out of a playoff spot right now.
St. Louis fought back long and hard because they were well out of it for quite a while. Give them a lot of credit. That could be a race that goes right down to the wire with the Maple Leafs and the St. Louis Blues.
Jeremy Roenick, their leading scorer, muzzled. 31 goals, 44 points, 44 assists, 75 points, but nothing to show today. But that's true for all of his teammates, too. Sean McEachran, with a minute left to go, held it into Yager. Yager moves by Chelios again. Mateau intercepted and got it out. Final minute of the second period. Will we add another? Scoreless period. The Pittsburgh Penguins numbers. Shel Samuelson on his own goaltender. Well, that's one way, I guess, you can break the shutout. Have your own goaltender. Shoot on your own man. Barrasso covered that one up. They may not credit him with a save. Scotty Bowman's club hasn't lost a game where they've gone to the third period lead.
Not surprising. Not surprising at all with his ability and the skill level of the players on the Penguin bench, and also the spectacular goaltending of one Tom Barrasso.
Pittsburgh, 4th best in goals on the year and 5th best in defense. The first one doesn't surprise you at all. The second one, I suspect many people would never, ever guess that their defense has been that strong.
But last year in the playoffs is when they really showed it against Chicago, just completely shutting them down.
Shot out by Smith. Barrasso tipped that away with the end of the stick. Chris Chelios to hold it in. Jim Pack got it. Pack trying to send it out. Larmer squeezes on the boards. Larmer dumped it to the corner. Pack's there again. Pack trying to get it out. Can't get it by Larmer. 26 seconds to go in the period. Right wing side. Needham. Needham shot. Score! Mike Needham. Hey, baby. I'm a shooter. He roofed it.
Can't mention it too often. The transition game with the Penguins, magnificent. There's Tippett, and now it's a 2-on-1 as a Hawk defender gets caught. Steve Smith goes down to prevent the cross-ice pass. Belfort goes down too soon, and it's a roof by Needham. What a tremendous goal. Very good presence of mind to hang on, not panic, and label a shot into the top corner of the net. Nice pass by Tippett. Tippett drives to the net to make it happen for Mike Needham and the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Needham gets the goal, a 4-0 lead. That'll be his 7th of the year for the rookie. 2 seconds remaining. Tipped by Barrasso wide, and they still haven't been scored on. Needham in 1939 is 7th from Tippett. And Tom Barrasso and his teammates will leave, leading 4-0. They've not been scored on now for 9 consecutive periods. And that hurts the likes of Jeremy Roenick. Tom Mays.
All right, Gary, that's over 180 minutes now where the Penguins haven't given up a goal. With all their firepower, that's almost unfair. After 2 periods at the Igloo, it's the Penguins whitewashing the Chicago Blackhawks by a score of 4-0. New Jersey Devils taking on the Philadelphia Flyers in a big Patrick Division matchup this afternoon at the Byrne Meadowlands Arena. Taking a look at John McClain scoring on the power play for New Jersey. That made it 5-2. Then Alexander Semak, it's a nice feed here from Claude Lemieux. He'll go top shelf for that one. That made it 6-2. Then on the Flyer power play, number 42 for the Flyers, Josef Veranek gets a loose puck and sends it home, make it 6-3. And that's where we stand now early in the 3rd period. Bernie Nichols has his 11th goal, also 2 assists from the New Jersey Devils, who, if they win this game, will be only a point behind the New York Rangers in that topsy-turvy Patrick Division. Pittsburgh, of course, is waltzing at the top of the division. One of the reasons why, well, they've been able to shut down one of the true stars in Jeremy Roenick of the Blackhawks. More at number 27 in a moment. Back to our National Hockey Night studios, Tom Mees along with Bill Clement. And Bill, you can always tell who the really great players are in the NHL because it's news when they don't hit the score sheet. Same can be said for Chicago's Jeremy Roenick, held scoreless today.
Well, he hasn't touched the puck very much, has he? But when he has, here's what's happened to him. The Penguins have been terrific defensively. On the play we'll show you, Roenick's trying to catch up to Goulet up ice, and Goulet smartly gives it to him. But watch what happens when Roenick crosses the blue line. First of all, good man-to-man coverage shapes up. You can see on the right side that Goulet's taken out of the play with man-to-man. There's only one seam, and it's right here, and Grant Jennings is standing there to take it away. But watch this. Who's back in the zone first? Tocchet and Yager beat the Blackhawk back into the play. Roenick's waiting for somebody to hit this seam. It doesn't happen. They force a turnover and go the other way, and that's how good the Penguins are defensively.
And you ask most people, what are the 3 things the NHL needs to get into the mainstream of team sports in this country? They say the 3 things are marketing, marketing, and marketing. And Jeremy Roenick of the Chicago Blackhawks has to be one of the most marketable commodities in the National Hockey League. He's an American-born kid. He's playing in one of the biggest media markets. And to a lot of superstars in the National Hockey League, and in fact in all sports, all that marketing entails, the interviews and autographs and everything, would be a big pain in the neck, but not to Jeremy Roenick.
You know, I enjoy, you know, a lot of people coming up and asking for autographs, and you know, it's very flattering, and it's something that you have to make sure that you keep in focus because you know, you have to be respectful. You have to remember how you got there and where you came from, and I think that's you know, that's how I keep going. That's what I'm very proud of.
Great talent, movie star looks, and yet, Al, some people say that hockey players just aren't marketable.
That's absolutely ridiculous. It's somebody's covering their behind if they don't think a hockey player is marketable. Look at today. You've got Roenick on the ice and Stevens on the ice. Everybody says, oh, the Europeans are so hard to market. These 2 guys are right out of Hockey Night in Boston. A couple of Boston kids, big stars. Roenick's nickname is Hollywood. They're nice. They're approachable. With the media, they're fine. There's no question that the hockey players are marketable. What you have to get over is marketing being hockey tonight, a sign outside the arena. It goes beyond just filling your own arena. Look beyond that.
Well, it's going to happen, isn't it? Let's face it. The #1 marketing tool is what we're doing right here. It's television, and Gary Bettman, the new commissioner, has said that's the way to go for hockey. It's television, so it's only a matter of time before we see the Roenicks and all the other stars in the NHL below, say Mario Lemieux and Wayne Gretzky, on television like Michael Jordan is every day.
I agree with the point that Al made. You have to go beyond just saying there's a hockey game tonight. Hey, Chicago Stadium's going to be sold out Sunday night for Jeremy Roenick and the Hawks, yet he's not nearly as well known in that city as a basketball player by the name of Jordan. Maybe he ought to be. This has been a physical one at the Igloo in Pittsburgh. Wow. 4-0 Penguins shutting out the Blackhawks, going for their 3rd whitewash in a row. Bill Clement and I are excited because it's the time of day we get to go in Al Morganti's corner. And Al, the Kings were riding high in the Smythe the first 2 months. What happened?
One of the coldest teams in the league. Since early April, 6 wins in their last 28 games. They've beaten 1 team since December 3rd that's over 500. Part of the problem, quite frankly, Wayne Gretzky. The great one is in a slump. No goals in his last 14 games, only 7 even strength points. And some people saying he hasn't been the same since he took this big hit on that soft back from former teammate Kevin Lowe. One guy that doesn't mind taking a hit and giving out a few, Eric Lindros back with the Flyers. 2 games back, 2 goals, about 24 hits. if the Flyers have any chance of making a playoff run, it's going to be on this guy. Now, you know, one team not going to have a problem with the playoffs is Chicago, but one guy that might not be there, Igor Kravchuk. Rumors are that he's going to be traded. Chicago under the gun a bit now. Detroit got Paul Coffey, so it's up to the Hawks, some people think, to make a trade. Maybe with Edmonton, you talk Edmonton and trade, you're talking about none other than that name, Joe Murphy. Keeps coming up again, still not signed, still available. The Oilers have an impetus, double impetus here to get past the Kings, and they also have that pick for Wayne Gretzky, so they could get like a lottery pick in the draft, plus make the playoffs and get all that money. And believe it or not, one of the teams may be in the running for Murphy, the San Jose Sharks. They may offer up to $2 million for the rights to get Murphy, and whoever gets him is going to be some cash. Now, San Jose, of course, tomorrow night, Tom, may set that record with 18 losses, and, you know, maybe it'd just be mean enough for Glenn Saylor to make sure you're in Winnipeg to be part of that record.
We've all speculated as to whether or not Edmonton's going to make the playoffs. If they don't trade Joe Murphy, forget about it. You got to know from a player standpoint, the players are sitting there realizing that Murphy is one of those intangible assets right now because he's not there. They're waiting for help to arrive, and they'll sag emotionally if Murphy doesn't get traded, so they can forget about it if Murphy isn't moved by the trading deadline.
Well, the Oilers are breathing down the Los Angeles Kings' neck right now. There's no problem right there. There's no denying that the Kings are in trouble and the Oilers are coming on. We'll see that trade develops. Next Saturday, join us again, our Hockey Night telecast. Boston Bruins in Toronto, 8 Eastern Time, February 20th. International Hockey Night Studios, 4-0. Pittsburgh Penguins lead the Chicago Blackhawks. Sounds like a one-sided game. And in truth, it maybe isn't all one-sided. There's more than one way to get a 4-0 lead.
Pittsburgh has it cranked up offensively. We have to give them credit for that. But the Chicago Blackhawks got into trouble in the first period. They dug a hole for themselves really defensively. Here comes Jágr on Brent Sutter. Makes a nice move to get away from him. But watch how Chicago recovers. Terrific recovery. Jágr gets the blue line. Will connect the dots. That adds up to 5, doesn't it? All Blackhawks are back. Here's Jágr, McEachern. Tocchet is going low out of the picture to the net, and he beats Jocelyn Lemieux. That's not supposed to happen, so he gets a shot right here on goal. But 3 guys coming down on 5 Chicago Blackhawks. That is not supposed to generate a scoring chance, and Chicago was not sharp mentally in the first period.
Well, there was no scoring in that second period until late, when the crowd was awakened by, yes, Mike Needham. He scored a goal to make it 4-0 Chicago, or the 4-0 Pittsburgh over Chicago, and that's where we stand right now as National Hockey Night gets set to continue in just a moment. They're getting ready for the third period of play at the Civic Arena. And that's the goal by Needham that made it 4-0 Pittsburgh.
National Hockey Night is brought to you by Miller Lite. It's everything you want a beer to be. By the new Subaru Impreza, what to try. And by Visa, honored at over 6 million more places than American Express. Visa, it's everywhere you want to be.
Pittsburgh added another in that second period. They lead at 4-0, 175 minutes and 59 seconds. The last time a goal was scored against Pittsburgh, Al Iafrate, 4:01 of the third period, 4 games ago. Wow.
The Hawks are not being outworked. The Hawks do not get outworked. They're just being beaten by a better hockey team today.
And a man we don't hear from very often by the name of Needham. Roofed one to end that second period. What a shot.
It was a beauty. He and Dave Tippett combined. Again, the transition game of the Penguins is the thing we're looking at. Speed in the transition. They come out through the neutral zone. You see the little pass from Tippett. Tippett will continue driving to the net. Steve Smith will go down to block the pass. Needham knows he can't pass it. Balfour's down a little early, and he roofs it, and boy, does it bulge.
That is just a great shot by Mike Needham. There's our scoring summary, our Miller Lite scoring summary with Pittsburgh's Murphy 14th at 131. Tocchet had the assist. They made it a 2-0 game in the first period. Stevens 43rd, power play 5:40. Tocchet and Murphy. 3-0 in the first period. Bob Airey, his 8th of the season, 11:03. Tippett and Needham. And then you saw Needham picking up his 7th of the year at 19:39. Tippett got the assist, and Pittsburgh taking the 4-0 lead. And the question now is, can Chicago find some way to crack the goaltending that's going on here? As Tom Barrasso, a shutout, of course, in his last start, and part of the shutout he shared with Reggett after Reggett had taken the shot from Joey Juneau in the face. Barrasso's back in, and he'll try and finish it off here.
If the Hawks are going to amount any sort of a comeback, they've got to start scoring and scoring early. You go in to the dressing room after the second period, you say, okay, we're down 4. Each line's got to get a goal. We've got to get a goal every 5 minutes. Hopefully we get one from our defense or from the power play and come out of this game with a victory. We'll wait and see what happens in the next 20 minutes, partner.
Eddie Belfour has been in and out. Of course, he left after the first 2 goals were scored in the first period. Jim Waite came on and finished up the first. And then Belfour back in to start the second period. Jeremy Roenick, their leading scorer, left with his head down at the end of that second period, and understandably so. He's been shut down in this game by this Pittsburgh defense. Francis will be out to take the draw. We start the third period at even strength. As we showed you earlier, Pittsburgh has not lost a game this season where they have had the lead going into the third period. The #1 team in the NHL, 36-14-5 against the league's 4th best in Chicago, 32-18-8. Stevens dumps it out to center. No reason for Pittsburgh to take chances here in the third period. Play it safe. Chicago can't. That should open things up for Pittsburgh. Goulet's shot, Barrasso the save. Larmer dumped in front of the net. Francis tipped it away from Jeremy Roenick. Played out of the zone. Stevens back in for Francis. Francis takes the shot, bounces up on Belfour, and the save is made. Our storyline here at the Igloo has been all Pittsburgh. He's a storyline. Stevens with his 43rd goal, 19th on the power play. Tippett has had 3 assists in this game, and you see Penguin goaltenders not allowed a goal 181 consecutive minutes. I gave you a number earlier less than that. I forgot a 5-minute overtime, so add 5 more under that, and that gives you that 181 plus. Tommy Barrasso now has not given up a goal in 104 minutes. The Pittsburgh record is held by Jim Rutherford back in 1973. He won 132 minutes and 24 seconds without giving up a goal. Barrasso can't beat that today, even if he gets another shutout. But what does Tom Barrasso care? If he can come in and pick up the shutout, that will be more than enough as far as he's concerned. Barrasso this season has picked up 4 shutouts, and the team has 5.
But as you said early in the broadcast, the main thing Tom Barrasso is interested in is W's, and lots of them, and the Penguins have certainly had their share of wins this season.
And if Tom Barrasso can get the victory here, it'll equal his season high of 27 for all of his years in the National Hockey League. He's at 26 right now. Brian Noonan has it. Noonan drops it back. These teams played once before in Chicago, and the Blackhawks won that game. Remember that Pittsburgh has not beaten Chicago here at home in the last 4 games. Murphy clears it around for Tocchet. Tocchet to Yager to McEachran. Sean McEachran cruising in as Brown in front, drops it to Yager. Yager tried to move and got stood up. Good stand-up check put on him that time by Matteau. Cleared in by Noonan. Jennings was with him. They let it go to Murphy. Murphy just left it behind the net for Jennings. Third period action here. Great to have you with us. Gary Thorne, Jim Schoenfeld on our special edition of ESPN's National Hockey Night here at the Igloo. Between these 2 Stanley Cup finalists of a year ago, and both leading their divisions coming into today's play. Tipped away to Graham. Graham dropped it into the corner. Nobody in front of the net for Chicago, so he had nobody to go to. Kuchera's pass is blocked out to center. Chris Chelios covering it up back deep. Sent again by Kuchera. Tom Barrasso will let it go. Barrasso doesn't wander. Not a goaltender who leaves that crease very often. Pack dropped it off into the corner. Turnaround by Ruutu is high and wide. Rebound all the way to the line. Tippett poked it away. Troy Loney was giving chase, couldn't get there though. Sent back in. Belfour goes behind the net. Chicago Blackhawks leave Pittsburgh today. They'll play in Detroit. It doesn't get any easier. They'll play that game tomorrow night. Knocked in wide of Barrasso. Put the glove up on it, but he's too far away to touch for him. Jim Pack out the center, and they knock it by Chelios all the way. This is going to be an icing call, touched up by Igor Kravchuk. 2.5 minutes into this third period. Goodies 300 tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific. Don't miss same-day coverage from the Daytona International Speedway. You'll see that man right there, 5-time Winston Cup champion Dave Earnhardt, race against other top Winston car drivers. He attempts to win his 4th consecutive Goodie 300 right here on ESPN, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific.
Well, it's no secret what brought these 2 teams to the finals last year. You have to have good, sound leadership. The Hawks, Chelios, Smith, Graham, Larmer, Roenick, Brent Sutter, certainly the Pens, Lemieux, Stevens, Tocchet, Francis, Mullen, Samuelson. not only great leaders, but reliable, highly skilled hockey players. With players like that, you win championships, or at least get a good crack at it, as the Blackhawks did last season.
Pittsburgh going for their third consecutive Stanley Cup, trying to maybe get to where the New York Islanders were when they won 4 in a row. The last team that got to that 3 or 4 in a row level. 17 minutes left to go in this third period. Chicago Blackhawks being pinned in. 1-4 checker up, Ron Francis. Otherwise, they'll stay back. Mullen got a piece of that, couldn't intercept it, though. Down the left wing side, Jocelyn Lemieux. Murphy on him. Lemieux centered. There goes the cage. As Barrasso got driven back into it from the front side. Tom Bees.
All right, Gary, it's getting late at the Meadowlands for the Philadelphia Flyers, that is. Look at this nice effort by Eric Lindros, and a bouncing puck is shot by the goaltender into the net by Kevin Dineen. With about 5 minutes to go, New Jersey hanging on to a 2-goal lead over Philadelphia.
That is the only other afternoon game in the National Hockey League. Little extracurricular activity after the whistle. And Grimson's going to go back to the penalty box, and Pittsburgh on the power play.
Brad Jennings and Grimson face to face as Grimson bumped into Barrasso. And Jennings talking, sucks Grimson into the penalty here. There's Jennings, boom, there's the shot. And Ron Hogarth is right there. No question, he's got to make that call. So Grimson will cool off for the next 2 minutes for roughing.
Roughing at 3:10 on Grimson as they add to these penalty minutes. Stu Grimson, one of the 7. The Chicago 7. They all have over 100 minutes in penalties. You got Chris Chelios at 190, Steve Smith 141, Christian Ruutu 114, Lemieux 111. Of course, you got the leader, Marchman, 226 starting the day, Brown 121, Russell 137. Shot wide of the net. That's a lot of penalty minutes, and they are number 1, well-deserved in penalty minutes as a team. Pittsburgh trying to get it set up here in their power play. They've had 1 power play goal and 5 chances in this game. That was Stevens' goal in the first period. Yager behind the net, poked it away. Francis in front, shot and a save by Belfour. Good chance for Ron Francis as he stuck into the circle. Murphy over to Francis, who's playing the point. Dumped in front of the net, or attempted at least. Chicago trying to get a clear here. Stu Grimson out on the penalty. Can't get it by Mullen, who held it in. Smith moved up on it. Chelios cross-checking away, but to no avail here. Pittsburgh, Chelios gets it back, puts it out in front. Larmer can't handle it. Joey Mullen back up for Murphy. Murphy over to Francis. 1 minute on the power play to Murphy. Murphy tried to wrist it wide, didn't. Larmer, he fell. He wasn't tripped, he fell. Had he not, he would have been going for his 3rd shorthanded chance of the game. He's 0 for 2 and a half. Murphy. Christian Ruutu moved up on him. 45 left on this power play. Yager, he got held up by the captain, Dirk Graham of Chicago, as he tried to break through. Yager moved to the point. Murphy's got it. Murphy sends it back in. Tocchet. 30 seconds left on the power play. Larry Murphy. Yager is in front of the net. Stevens tried to get it to him and couldn't. Yager hits the body, fell. 20 seconds left to go in the power play. Graham can't get it up, goes a little deeper. Rammed out by Brown. Barrasso holds it up. 1 more chance at it here in this power play for Pittsburgh. They're leading 4-0. Larry Murphy. Murphy drops it. Tocchet coming. 3 seconds remaining on the penalty. And offside with 1 second left on the penalty, and Pittsburgh up 4-0 over the Blackhawks. Third period. This will be the final meeting of the regular season. They'll only play twice. Whether they'll meet in the playoffs again, that remains to be seen. Chicago certainly hopes so. Pittsburgh at this point, I don't think much cares who they face so long as they keep rolling along in the playoffs. Held in behind the net. Igor Kravchuk. Kravchuk fell down, got up, had the puck, let it chase it down in the corner after it had been partially blocked. Roenick breaking on the far side. Roenick going behind the net. Barrasso kind of cut him off, and Barrasso holding his arms up as though I didn't do anything. Roenick went between the net and Barrasso. Barrasso had about a step away, and Roenick didn't have much room, and I don't think Barrasso really wanted to trip him here.
Well, we mentioned before, Roenick does not shy away from high traffic areas. He's trying to thread the needle right there, and he goes head first into the boards. He'll brush himself off, he'll get right back up, and the next time he'll make the same move. He's a very courageous young man, gives everything he has, every shift of every game. A terrific player for the Blackhawks. There he is, trying to inspire his teammates. It's not over in Jeremy Roenick's eyes. Let's get it going, guys.
Pretty tight squeeze he had right there. Back to the point. Paul Stanton able to hold it in. Played behind the net by Steve Smith. Remember, we have lost 3 players in this game to misconducts. Bob Airey and Caulfield went for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Alf Samuelson had a game misconduct. He's out of there. There's the penalty. Oh, Shell Samuelson tried to get his arms up in time. Noonan had already gone down on the ice, and Hogarth was watching. So Samuelson will go to the box, and Chicago will get a power play, their 5th of the game.
Well, he heard you mention Alf, and he said, wait a minute, I'm the Samuelson playing. Say something about me. So he drew a little attention to himself. Gets a penalty, and the Hawks need a goal here very badly, Gary, if they're going to get back into this hockey game.
They are down 4-0. 3 in the first. Murphy, Stevens, and Airey, and Needham in the second from Tippett and Pack. 1939. No, 5:55. Samuelson goes on the tripping call. There you see what's happened on the power play. Not a whole lot in this game. The 0 for 4 in this game. Chicago on the season now 2 for 10 against Pittsburgh. Their power play continues to struggle. Chelios, Smith shot wide. Barrasso played the tip of Noonan. You know, Barrasso's thinking about the shutouts here. He's not going to mind getting it now. His team's up 4-0. Mateau couldn't be handled by Noonan behind the net, tied up by Murphy. Sutter goes over to get it. Sutter dropped it in the middle. Poke checked away. This play from behind that time made by Pack on the poke check. To the point, Smith the shot. Score! That'll end it right there. It was tipped in front of the net, I think, by Noonan on the shot taken from the point by Steve Smith. And the shutout minutes end at 13:29 to go, and the fans are going to give their team a standing ovation, realizing that's the first goal to come in 3 games.
Sutter and Noonan both parked in front of the goal. There's the shot coming. Noonan right in Barrasso's face. Sutter's coming in, and it's tipped past Tom Barrasso. That's what he can see. Not very much in this shot. And the puck is tipped past him. And the Penguin fans appreciate the effort by Tom Barrasso and their Penguin hockey team.
Ryan Noonan gets his 10th goal of the season. 3 of them on the power play, and makes it a 4-1 game as Chicago gets on the board using the power play to do it. So they picked up the power play goal in this game. Now can they get 1 or 2 in a hurry? Barrasso gloving that one and hanging on with Goulet almost in the glove of the puck.
It'll be interesting to see if there's any letdown by the Penguins. They were all working hard to keep this shutout streak going. The Hawks, of course, have broken that streak. Maybe there'll be a little bit of an emotional letdown, which will enable the Hawks to get even closer with this 3-goal deficit they're facing.
Noonan from Sutter and Smith on the goal at 6:31 off the power play. There you see Pittsburgh goaltenders' numbers. First goal in 187 minutes and 30 seconds. They played a long time without having one go to the back of the twine. Jeremy Roenick had won the faceoff, but they couldn't control it. Cleared up and out of the zone by Pack. Turn around by Kravchuk, got it out to center. Mullen had it, lost it. Pack picks it up, intended for Mullen. Played back by Brown. And it'll be sent in wide of the net by Smith. Up to the point, Stevens. Stevens hit from behind by Keith Brown. Puck pinned up there. Pack dug it out and sends it. This will be an icing call. Kravchuk's got to go the full length here to touch this one up and stop the clock with 12:30 to go here in the third.
For the first time in the game, the Penguins back in their heels, and not because of any undue pressure by the Hawks. They're laying back. They're playing a protective game. If I was Scotty Bowman, and I'm sure Scotty's already told them, boys, we scored 4 goals by attacking. Let's play the remaining 12 minutes in the Chicago zone. Get on the attack. We're going to get some more scoring chances, maybe some more goals. It'll be a long 12 minutes if the Penguins have to play it in their own zone.
We saw Scotty Bowman over on the bench trying to rev it up a little bit. Chelios' shot is deflected in the air. Joey Mullen and Chelios bat at it. Near side corner, held in by Greg Gilbert. Ruutu couldn't cut it down behind the net. Pittsburgh now just wants to clear it out, keep the clock running, and not create any defensive lapses here that will allow the opportunity to score. Dirk Graham. Chelios comes back to get it. 12:06 remaining here in the third. Shots 32-24. Pittsburgh with the advantage there and also with that 4-0 lead. Chelios again out to center. Ruutu tipped it away. Free at center. Francis got it back a couple of times off Dirk Graham. Stevens cleared it over. Comes back to him from Mullen. And he'll just send it into the corner. He's taken out of the play by Craig Gilbert. Gilbert intended for Sutter. Icing call if Jennings get there first, and he did. 11:35 remaining from the Igloo. The Pens up 4-1. George Wendt. I thought I was in Cheers where everybody knows my name.
Yeah.
Hi, Norm.
Sometimes it feels like it's this full. 16,000.
A great baseball and hockey fan from Chicago. And on hand here today, huh?
Yeah, I'm liking it, even though the boys are going down in flames. But it's great to see them in their beautiful red jerseys.
Well, they haven't gone down yet, and they're a team that never quit, so you never know. They could still come back, and maybe some cheering to be done in Chicago.
Took the words out of my mouth.
Good. Did I say them as well as you would have said them? Or how about Cliffy? Would he have said it a little better?
You read it right off the card perfectly. Chelios trying to run it in along the boards, lost it. Getting up, Grant Jennings finds it and sends it out. I say, baseball, the hockey fan, he's got the Chicago Bulls shirt on too, and we see him all the time on television when the Bulls are particularly playing at home. You spend a lot of time in sports arenas, don't you?
It seems like it, but actually I don't.
You don't get to see as many as you'd like, probably.
No.
Even.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, absolutely not. With 10:34 to go, 4-1. I'd rather talk to George Wendt, actually. Off the near side, Jeremy Roenick offside on the Chicago Blackhawks.
When we talk about the success in Pittsburgh, certainly one of the success stories has been your show. It's been on for years, and it seems to get better and better all the time.
Yeah.
I watch it, my family watches it, and that's not hype, that's fact, and we enjoy it every time it's on. Tremendous.
Thanks. Well, it was a tough call to pull the plug on the show when people are still enjoying it the way they are, and we really are enjoying it too. But you got to have a sixth sense about when to say when, and I'm sure you had a tough decision in your day, and it's tough, you know, to retire.
Well, maybe you can inherit some money and open your own bar. We look forward to seeing that.
Thank you.
George, what are future plans?
Nothing firm. I'd like to wind up on TV. NBC and I are cooking some plans up, and anything really. You got any ideas?
Sure, take me with you. That's my idea. Shot goes wide of the net.
I'll probably wind up off-Broadway this spring doing a play called Wild Men that we did last summer in Chicago, and that should be fun.
It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Have you done much theater?
Yeah.
A lot of theater. Started there?
Yeah, I started out at the Second City in Chicago, which is more of an improv cabaret as opposed to classical theater.
That'll be a lot of fun. Gilbert in the corner, tied up. 4-1 score here. The Pittsburgh Penguins leading it. Chelios steps up on Francis, who knocked it away from him. Comes out to center. And played back by Kuchera. Kuchera over to Chelios. Intended for Gilbert, taken away by Murphy. And Francis knocked it down. Jeremy Roenick tried to hold it in, could not. Stevens, Pittsburgh, tic-tacs along the line. Francis shot, Belfour knocks it away, and Chelios will come back to get it. 33-25. Chicago getting on the board here in the third period. Break the shutout streak, but that's all they've done thus far. Chelios' shot. That's deflected wide as Gilbert got knocked down. Barrasso tried to reach out and hang on to that. Couldn't do it. Roenick takes it back up. Sets it up. Barrasso makes the save. Tom Barrasso shining again. Break out the other way. 2-on-2. Shot wide of the net. Carlone the opportunity. Banged in again by Mullen. Stevens at center. Sent in by Jennings.
Barrasso, tremendous move, post to post. He's there, cat-like quickness, and he denies the Hawks once again.
He's not on his heels. Sutter centered, and it couldn't be tipped in. Another great scoring opportunity. Two chances right there late in this third. It would have made a real difference. Needham, centering pass went underneath the glove of Belfour, but wide. Chicago Blackhawks picking the pace up here now with 8:07 left to go. Trying to get to within a couple and chip away at this thing. Mateau dropped it for Sutter, but Tippett was there. Tippett trying to send Needham too far in front. They wave off the icing. Igor Kravchuk goes back to get it. Kravchuk, both teams changing it up with the fly, intercepted by McEachran. McEachran knocked down, but jams it in behind the net. Well, we have to head out here for a commercial. George, great to see you.
Well, thanks a lot, guys.
And we look for you on the Off-Broadway show, and
yeah,
maybe something else on NBC.
I'll be looking for you here. Great. ESPN's got the best game in town.
Appreciate it.
Oh, here we go.
Rick Tocchet up against the board. Second time we have had a major scrum. First one came in the last minute of the first period.
The danger with the score being 4-1 and time running out is that the game could get ugly. The Hawks wanting to make their point. If they can't make it on the scoreboard, they may make it with their fists. And there's Tocchet and Smith going at it. One-on-one.
At this point of the game, Ron Hogarth will not hesitate to toss players here. There's only 7:27 left to go. He's not going to leave people out who are going to instigate these affairs. Tocchet and Smith being separated by the linesmen, and again, we're right back in front of these benches again. But it looks like the players on the benches are going to stay out of this one. We'll be back, pick up the penalties. 4-1 Pittsburgh. 4-1, that's the time remaining in the third period. Only one other afternoon game today. It was at the Meadowlands in New Jersey. Back-to-back series there. They'll play again in Philadelphia, but for the day at least it goes to the Devils. 6-4 over Philadelphia, so the Devils now have fourth place alone in the Patrick division. They've got 56 points, one behind the Rangers in third. The Islanders 2 points behind New Jersey. Those standings will be affected by games to be played tonight. There is Tocchet. He and Smith were involved in the tete-a-tete. They're only going to pick up minor penalties, apparently, with an extra minor going to Smith. At least that's what's on the board right now. That stays the same. Pittsburgh will have the power play coming up. Don't forget, our coverage of the National Hockey League will continue next Saturday night. ESPN's National Hockey Night goes to one of the great buildings, Maple Leafs Gardens. Toronto Maple Leafs and the Boston Bruins. Adam Oates leading the Boston Bruins in their attack. He's third among all the league scorers. He'll be at that 100 mark by the time we see him next week, joining Lemieux and LaFontaine in that exclusive category. So we'll see you from Toronto next Saturday. Ron Hogarth, official for this one, has made his calls. 12:33, the time of the calls. Tocchet gets roughing and a fighting. Chelios gets roughing, and Smith gets a 5 for fighting and a roughing. So Chelios was the one who picked up the extra 2, and that was the reason the Pittsburgh Penguins are back on the power play. Their second of this period and their 7th power play of the game. They've had 1 power play goal. Jaromir Jagr back to the point. Francis held it in. Belfour knocked it away, picked up by Kuchera, and it's cleared out. Francis will chase it down.
Francis has played almost this entire third period, it seems. Killing penalties, power play, defensive zone faceoffs, regular shift. He's been out there an awful lot and done an extremely good job for the Penguins.
Jagr trying to tip that one on the blue line. It ends up in the seats. We said earlier, Ron Francis, 12th year in the National Hockey League, is really one of the great acquisitions they have been able to make the past couple of seasons. 20-plus goals, 11 consecutive seasons coming into this year, and 21 last year. But he's so up and down both ways.
He does all the little things right, the things that oftentimes go unnoticed and unappreciated. However, he has a terrific boss behind the bench who knows the game well and knows the value of Ron Francis. And Scotty Bowman speaks very highly of Francis in every aspect of the game.
Take a look from behind the net. And Eddie Belfour watching the face-off way out there at center ice. Near side it comes to Jagr. Jagr tried to drop it in. Joy Mullen was cutting. Francis got it back. Jagr pinned up, takes a little shot to the head. They're not done yet in this game. That was Roenick going against Jagr. Jagr, the 21-year-old, he's not adverse to playing the body, which is true for most of these guys. Stevens going for his second of the game. Belfour deflected it off the glove. In the corner, Jeremy Roenick. Jagr stepped in to hold it in. Larry Murphy drops it for Francis. Power play for Pittsburgh. Puck in the corner. Joey Mullen kicking at it. 38 seconds left in the power play. Chance intercepted by Kravchuk. Roenick clears. Tom Barrasso going after his 27th win at the other end, holds it up for Larry Murphy. 27 seconds remaining on this power play. Chance. 5:52 left to go in the game. Pittsburgh comes 3-on-2 here. McEachran dropped it, tipped. Belfour the save on Stevens.
Stevens muscles his way to the net. Frantisek Kucera is all over him, but Stevens just keeps his legs going. McEachran gains the blue line here. It's a 2-on-2. You can't contain Stevens. He's too big, he's too strong, and he's too fast. And I think that would be almost the definition of this entire Penguin team in this afternoon's game.
Stevens with 43 goals going after a record held by Steve Shutt for left wingers. 60 goals in a season is the most the left wingers ever scored. Shutt with the record. Remember, Stevens is coming off a knee operation on November 6th. And despite that, having a magnificent year. Shell Samuelson shot it wide. Power play down to 8 seconds here for Pittsburgh. Backed out off Jim Pack. Chased down by Samuelson, and that's going to do it. Pittsburgh power play over, back to even strength. Right out of the box, it's tipped by Chelios. Chelios runs it into the zone, knocked away by Shell Samuelson. Samuelson flipped it up on the dasher, and the Pens are able to control. Sent in wide, Belfour looking like the first baseman trying to glove one that time, didn't get it. Kravchuk in the corner, Needham, Loney, and Chelios finally comes away with it. Bounces back to him off Dave Tippett. Tippett quietly has had a strong game here in a line that's not supposed to score. He's been involved with Airy and Needham on goals. Played back into the corner again by Kravchuk. Game dominated here by Pittsburgh. Stapleton at center. Grant Jennings went back to get it. Thought better of it, left it. Roenick intercepts. Roenick drops it back. Shot by Larmer, deflected. That was a great block by a guy by the name of Jaromir Jagr. We told you he's not opposed to playing the body. He just stepped up on that shot, put his whole body in front of it. Jagr trying to break. Keith Brown going back to get it. Brown sends it near side for Kuchera. 4:16 left to go here in the third. Steve Larmer. Larmer had it taken away by McEachran to Jagr. Jagr moving in. Jagr the shot. Nope, tried to set it up. He had Mike Stapleton on the far post. He faked the shot, got it over to Stapleton, but Stapleton unable to handle an aerial pass that bounced wide. Ruutu, or Matteau rather, running into the corner, hit by Pack. Cleared around the boards, but not out, held in momentarily by Kuchera. Taken away, 3:48 left here in the third. McEachran up. John McEachran shot wide of the net, blocked by Chelios.
The Penguins' defensive zone coverage absolutely spectacular. Their transition game phenomenal tonight. A very impressive game the Penguins have played, right from Tom Barrasso to the defensemen through to the forwards.
They're going to keep that great defense going here. Blocked by Murphy right there. Murphy, had he not blocked that, Sutter was all alone in front.
5 Penguins back every time. They mark their check. They stay with them. They're cutting down the passing lanes and just shutting the Blackhawks down at every offensive opportunity the Hawks have.
Brent Sutter sent it in. Barrasso stopped it up to Tippett. Dave Tippett looking for help. Pittsburgh was changing as well, so he found himself alone. He'll head to the benches. The Pens complete their line change. So for the first time in the last 4 games played here, Pittsburgh is going to come away with a victory at home against Chicago. Shell Samuelson knocks it down, and Pittsburgh will pick up their 22nd home win here today, one more than they had all of last year. This is the best start this franchise has ever had during 55 games. Ruutu shot deflected wide by Tippett. Tippett goes after Ruutu. Ruutu, though, has the puck. Christian Ruutu left it for Michel Goulet. Goulet, 14th all-time leading goal scorer in the National Hockey League. Like Roenick, shut down here today. Tippett wraps it around the board, and they'll wave off any icing with 2:19 left to go. Keith Brown's got it. Brown sends it up ice. Moving in on it was Mike Stapleton. Stapleton has it. He'll just clear the zone. Keith Brown going back to get it. We are down to the 2:03 mark of this third period. 4-0 lead. Murphy, Stevens, Airy, and Needham have the goals. Those of you who've been watching the Philadelphia-New Jersey Devil game, welcome to the Igloo in Pittsburgh. Gary Thorne, Jim Schoenfeld. A game here in the final minute 55 dominated by the Pittsburgh Penguins, who have a 4-1 lead. Shot, Barrasso makes the save on Jeremy Roenick. Stapleton trying to clear it out of the zone. Yager had it momentarily, comes back to him. Yager along the boards. Goals in this game, Murphy, Stevens, and Airy in the first period. Mike Needham in the second. And the defense and Tom Barrasso has been the rest of this story. Chicago came into this game, last two games, they had picked up shutouts. They went into the third period in this game before Chicago finally was able to find the net and put one up. Yager able to hold it in. Pens are going to get their 37th win, #1 in the NHL. Down low, Dirk Graham. Murphy took it away and clears it out. And without Mario Lemieux, Jim, they're going to be 9-5-1.
Complete transition from the high-flying offensive machine to a sound defensive game. And they're winning, and they're going to continue to win because they're playing from their blue line back as well as any team in the entire National Hockey League, and they're doing it with very strong conviction.
Tom Barrasso is going to set the season high with his 27th win in net, equaling the most he's ever had in any season in the National Hockey League. Chicago Blackhawks had hoped to come in here and continue their streak, but they're not going to do it here in Pittsburgh. Knocked away to tip it, 29 seconds remaining. Shot on Belfour taken by Mike Needham, held on to. Knocked into the corner by Kuchera. Only had one real period of real rough stuff, end of the first period when we had some game misconducts called and a brouhaha in front of the bench. Other than that, Pittsburgh fans have just gotten the job done along with their team.
You know, Chicago's hurting. They may have come into this game and put too much onus on it. They wanted to come in. They beat the Penguins at home after being ousted last year in the Stanley Cup playoffs. They wanted to come in and do the same thing in the Igloo. The Penguins were ready for them and denied them not only on the scoreboard, but in every physical aspect of the game.
Pittsburgh comes away with a victory. Our final from the Igloo. It's the Penguins 4 and the Blackhawks 1. For Jim Schoenfeld and all of our crew, thanks for joining us. Tom, back to you.
All right, Gary, the Penguins will be in Buffalo tomorrow night. Chicago returns home to play Detroit. And if Detroit wins tonight, they'll come into Chicago Stadium just 3 points behind.